so fucking tired.
Yep.
Took my Christmas tree down today, January 25th.
There you go.
And we are live. Welcome to the NBA Deeper Dive. It is Wednesday, January 25th. I'm Josh Engleman. I'm joined by Adam Scherer. We are brought to you by No House Advantage. We've got 10 games ahead of us, some of which we don't know absolutely anything about for right now, which should be a real treat. But we're going to break it down anyway, I don't know what I'm saying. Anyway, for you guys. So hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Adam, how was your day?
It was good. Looking forward to talking about the slate, except for, the part where it's all going to change when we find out who's playing for the Nuggets. But definitely an interesting slate to talk through. Went through it with Lofty this morning, so looking forward to doing it again.
Yeah, I took a look at it on the process show this morning. No strategy show for me, so it's always good to break this one down again once you and I get together here for the deeper dive. We do got a lot to talk about, at least as of right now. A couple spots where it might take a little bit of digging, a couple spots where we might just say, well, we can't even talk about this. Like when we get to Denver, there's very little that we're going to be able to do other than say, it seems like this game is going to have a lot less people on Denver than what they normally have. You ready to get started?
Yep.
I will say this much. I'm wide awake right now. I got a shower at like 4 o'clock. So like 45 minutes ago. It's just, I'm invigorated.
I am not.
You didn't sound great on the strategy show this morning.
I slept like 3 hours last night, and then I tried to take a nap this afternoon, but I did the thing where like I didn't fall asleep until like a half hour before I had to get up. So if anything, I probably just feel worse.
Gotta love it. Well, at least you get to work now and then not do anything other than more work until 10:30. Should be a good time. Indiana Pacers, 5-point dogs in Orlando, 234 total in this one. For Indiana, Q-tag on Andrew Nembhard, Q-tag on Aaron Nesmith. Obviously, Tyrese Halliburton still out, but imminently returning. Right now, we've got TJ McConnell projected for 62% ownership on DraftKings, 69% ownership on FanDuel. And while that's obviously a high number, it's like closer to correct than not correct.
Yeah, it's high, and he's going to be over-owned here. There's no real way around that. But, the point I made this morning with Lofty, and this will change a little bit, depending on Denver news. Obviously, that's going to shape the entire slate. But right now, we have McConnell projected for 62% ownership on DraftKings, 43% chance of being optimal. So, yes, that is a spot where you can find lower-owned guys and make pivots that over a large sample are going to work out from, a math standpoint. But you have to keep in mind that you're not just trying to build lineups where you have 8 guys or 9 guys, depending on the site, that are under-owned. You're still trying to build lineups that are relatively likely to succeed. And for the most part, in a lineup, if you have, let's say, 2 or 3 guys that are, 5, 6, 7% owned, there's no reason at that point for you not to be playing the guy that has a 43% chance of being in the optimal lineup. You're just, at that point, you're like trying to win the tournament by 15 points instead of just trying to win it. And so that's sort of the thing is, you always are going to see people like, oh, this guy's too popular. Like, people played, 60% on McConnell. It's just like, well, yeah, but in a lot of lineups, that's going to be good and perfectly fine. So, he's going over owned. There are a million good guard plays on this slate. If you want to just play some lower owned ones instead of him, you can still make good lineups. But at 6K in a good spot, and just given how many minutes we can expect him to play as a starter, we've seen it from him in the past. We've seen it last game and the game before. There's no reason, barring foul trouble or massive blowout or just something weird, that you're not getting at least 32 to 34 minutes from McConnell, if not more here. And he's over a fantasy point per minute guy without Halliburton on the floor. So very, very clearly one of the best plays on the slate. He is going over owned, but he's also just one of the most likely guys to succeed.
Should we run some type of pool where we get to buy chunks of time? So like you get from 7 to 7:05, somebody gets from 7:05 to 7:10 for when Jesse's tweet comes out bitching about DJ McConnell.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be there and it's going to be great.
Yeah. I assume it's already in the drafts and ready to go.
Right.
Or he's just using yesterday's.
Yeah, that would also work.
Now, how much does, at least to me, Andrew Nembhard's status and Aaron Nesmith's status don't really matter for TJ McConnell. I mean, like they do, but like they don't. TJ McConnell's a great play if you tell me both of those guys are in right now.
Yeah, exactly. Like if they're out, it's just a thinner team and you can feel more confident that he's playing big minutes, but like he's going to play big minutes regardless, unless he gets in foul trouble or rolls his ankle or something. It's not like, oh, Nembhard and Nesmith are back, so TJ McConnell is going to only play 26 minutes in his start by design. It's if that happens, it was some fluky sort of reason. So it's not that big of a deal. And we've talked about it a lot before. Really, the whole time Halliburton's been out. Between McConnell and Nembhard, McConnell's the alpha of the two when it comes to fantasy production. So it's not like, oh, Nembhard's back, McConnell's going to lose assist opportunities. It's McConnell's just going to pretend Nembhard's not on the floor, and that's what he does. Has done.
You heard it here first, folks. Adam's calling Andrew Nembhard a beta. I'm sure he'll love that. How do we see the rest of this for Indiana? Because obviously those Q tags matter for both of those guys and for everybody else. It's kind of hard to break down the rest of Indiana outside of maybe Miles Turner and whatever you think they're doing at center.
Yeah, I mean, kind of no matter what, Buddy Hield's going to look good. Shooting guard, small forward, 6,200. He'll be fine. Same for Miles Turner. If he doesn't get in foul trouble and this game's competitive, you're likely getting north of 30 minutes. He's 7,100. He's about a 1.2 DraftKings point per minute guy without Halliburton, so he's going to look fine in tournaments. There are a million good centers on this slate, just like there are a million good guards. That shouldn't be surprising on a 10-gamer, but Turner pulling 8% ownership, 10% chance of being optimal. That's one easy way that you can start to differentiate your McConnell lineups, one of many ways that you can. But the rest of it does depend on Nesmith and Nembhard, because if they're in $5,400 Mathurin off the bench, probably playing around 30 minutes, certainly has a path to success, and he's getting 11% ownership. But if you take those guys out, you can just feel even better about his playing time, even if he does come off the bench again like he did yesterday. If he starts, clearly you can bump up his projection even more. But it also would open the door, if those guys are out, for a $3,400 Chris Duarte, who played about 26 minutes yesterday. I would expect similar playing time, but you could certainly get more if he's playing really well. So if those guys are out, it just opens up even more. If they're in, Nesmith at 3,700 is okay, but you're never going to be excited about going there. And then one other negative about it is that we may not have the Denver news by then. And I really, especially if you're playing small field stuff and you can pretty easily control it, I would really rather not be playing players from these two early games unless they are exceptional plays, if I don't have Denver news yet.
Yeah. Yeah, like TJ McConnell doesn't matter for Denver news.
Right, yeah, TJ McConnell is just TJ McConnell. But and large field, there's only so much you can do. I don't want to just say like, oh, in 150 lineups, I'm not playing Miles Turner because I don't know what Denver's doing. But like, if I'm playing, a small field single entry and I'm looking at a couple of lineups and they're pretty much equal, except one has Miles Turner and one has a different 8% owned guy that starts at 10, I'm probably going to prefer the one that starts at 10 so that I have more information to make decisions with.
All right. I don't really think that there's anything else that we could touch on from Indiana, so I'm going to slide it on over to the Orlando side of this one. Orlando just at full strength. I don't know. Maybe we'll see John Isaac get up to like an 11-minute ability for today. I've never seen a minutes limit be so embarrassingly small. I don't even know why you bring the guy back at that point.
Yeah, no, I said the same thing. Like, why didn't he just play another game with the G League? When I saw that minutes limit, I was like, okay, they're saying 8 to 12 and he's going to play 16. But like, he actually played what they said.
Yeah, 9.5. Nailed it. It's I can't even wrap my head around it. I will say, though, this Orlando team is interesting. Like the Denver news, like you said, you don't necessarily want to just like lock in a Franz Wagner or a Wendell Carter here, but the prices on Wagner, Banchero in particular to me, who's pulling some ownership, and Wendell Carter, if you want to say Fultz, that works for me too. I like these prices, and it's a really good matchup against Indiana.
Yeah, it is. This does also fall into that category of, you're certainly, if you don't have Denver news, they are good plays, and especially if you're playing 150 max, you're going to have them. But I will be paying attention to just tiebreakers in small field stuff where I'm not just like, it's not like I'm saying don't play Banchero in small field or don't play Wendell Carter. But if you have lineups that are pretty similar, except one has one of these guys and one doesn't, I would certainly prefer the later ones if we don't have Denver news. But aside from that, Carter at 6,400 looks good. Again, there's a lot of good centers today. Banchero 7K, not nearly as many good forwards, at least right now. He is pulling about 20% ownership. I have a crunch running right now. I know the one that I did earlier. I was getting under the field on him at that ownership, but still a very high upside spot for him, and that price tag is falling. Then you get Franz Wagner and Markelle Fultz, the other two guys that you can feel relatively confident are playing at least around 30 minutes, if not more. And then outside of that, this team just falls off of a cliff because they have a million NBA rotation guys.
Yes, they do. Well, they've got a million guys. They're in their rotation. I don't know if they're all going to be
but like they have actual
guys
that would be in rotations on most teams.
They do. Terrence Ross wasn't one of them on Monday.
I was actually surprised they only played 10 last game.
Yeah, I was surprised to see Ross. I mean, like, I wasn't surprised to see Ross not be a guy, but I was kind of surprised to see Ross not be a guy.
I was surprised just based on what they had done this year because we were well past the point where I could not figure out why Terrence Ross was playing.
I don't have anything else really to say here for Orlando. I would say that Banchero is the guy that I think looks the best, and that bears out in the ownership. Yep,
and it's also just position based.
Yep. Yeah, filling that small forward spot has become pretty difficult.
Yeah, and it's weird because like he's getting nearly 20% ownership, so obviously he's not a contrarian play, but also it seems like paying up at all at small forward would be somewhat contrarian from a roster construction standpoint, just because you saw it the other day, you're seeing it again today. If you're like 5K and have small forward eligibility, you're just getting ownership because that's such a useful spot to save some money and get to the guards that you want and get to the centers that you want.
All right, let's keep this bad boy moving. We're going to head to Brooklyn. 5.5 point dogs in Philadelphia, 225 total. On the Brooklyn side, everybody that's normally available is available for today. Obviously, no Kevin Durant still for a while. Day'Ron Sharpe is questionable. That is not relevant information for what we're trying to do here. No ownership coming into the Brooklyn side of this one. Definitely interested in Kyrie if I'm going to something from Brooklyn. Not a ton of interest elsewhere. You could probably talk me into a little bit of Claxton. But Kyrie to me would be the quote unquote prize of any of this.
Yeah, Kyrie and Claxton are the two for me. I was actually getting a lot of Claxton in the crunch that I ran earlier. These are two, certainly again, like them in large field, like them in small field. But if you don't have Denver news, you can find other very good plays as well that look similar. So that's kind of just the disclaimer on these early games. If they don't look great in small field, I'll probably just choose a different lineup. But the ceiling that you get from, Kyrie without Durant, he's 10-1. There's a lot of guards that are in that price range and are going to look very, very similar. And most of them are going to be in this ownership range as well. So it does kind of make for a fun slate in that regard, where at least right now, like you can be relatively contrarian while still playing really good plays, whether that's like Kyrie Irving or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander or, just other guys in that price range. So that I do like that about 10 game slates. You can play really good plays and still get pretty low owned lineups, which is another reason why like I wouldn't be all that concerned about TJ McConnell being overowned, for example. It's not like a 4-game slate where I need to go play some god awful, backup power forward to try and offset my TJ McConnell ownership. It's just going to be really easy to do anyway. But Irving looks good. Claxton has been playing really big minutes and also producing around 1.3, I think. I'm pulling it up now to double check, but 1.2 to 1.3 DraftKings points per minute without Kevin Durant on the floor this year. And then you're also just seeing like 32 plus minutes from him when he's not in foul trouble. He played 36 minutes last game, 1.23 DraftKings points per minute without Durant on the floor. So at basically no ownership, I do like him in tournaments. But again, you do have this game being before Denver.
Then we go to Philly, and clearly a big piece of news hanging in this one. Q tag on Joel Embiid. We're going to be without Furkan Korkmaz, so sorry to everybody that was really looking to worry about that information. James Harden is off the injury report. He had missed Saturday's game. There is no ownership to speak of coming in here on Philadelphia. Obviously, the Embiid news looms large, but much like, I look at Kyrie the same way that I look at Harden and Embiid. Yeah. I see them all as basically the exact same play.
Yeah, I was going to say it's like the exact same thing. Still before Denver, still very high upside, relatively low probability plays. If Embiid is out, Harden becomes a priority. I don't care that the game's before Denver. If you get Embiid out, Harden will just be in my lineups, and I'll figure out Denver when it happens. But it kind of becomes like TJ McConnell. I don't care what time the game is. But assuming that Embiid is in, yeah, he's great, and so is Harden. But if you say like, and this is kind of going to be the theme, like if you sit there and say, oh, like how do you not play James Harden today? You have to just start saying like why you're also not playing Kyrie and Shea and Morant and these other guys that look very, very similar to Harden. So it's just a very good tournament play that looks very similar to other guys priced around him. The problem with Embiid is twofold. One, he's even more expensive, not only than all of these really good guards that we're referring to that are around 10K, but you also just have a very strong mid-range of centers today. So it's kind of just like doubly hard to get to him. But if you can, it's a fine spot against Brooklyn, and I'm happy to get there. I just, wouldn't expect to be getting more than like 4 or 5%.
Yeah, I don't see much here. Does Embiid being out, like, obviously it opens up one of Montrezl Harrell or Paul Reed, assuming it's Paul Reed, or sorry, assuming it's Montrezl Harrell. Do you have any interest in anything else here? Because I find Philly to be completely uninteresting.
If Embiid's out, I like Harris at 6,200.
Okay.
He sees a clear bump in production without Embiid on the floor. I don't know if they would go with Harrell starting. I don't know if they would go to Maxey still starting with Tucker at the 5. But either way, it should be a benefit for Tobias Harris, who's only 6,200. In large field tournaments, I still think Harris is playable anyway, just because you're going to be getting a lot of ownership coming into guys around 5K, like KJ Martin, Malik Beasley, guys like that, where if you can find $1,000 for Harris, even though, he does clearly take a back seat to Harden and Embiid, he's going to just run into big games often enough at no ownership that he's a decent pivot there. But definitely becomes interesting if Embiid sits.
If we do get Harrell, what is your thought on minutes for a $4,600 center that's generally a point per minute guy?
Somewhere between 18 and 30. Yeah, I don't know, probably like 24.
Let's say you get that news at 6:30. How is that impacting your night? Is that a spot where you're willing to take a pretty big stand, even with Denver looming large?
I probably wouldn't really want to, because you also just have so many other good center plays. And it's not like Harrell is dirt cheap. He is still 4,600. He has started 7 games this year. He's averaged 24.2 minutes per game, 1.03 DraftKings points per minute. If you get, 26 DraftKings points here, that's not getting it done, even though it's going to look decent, in terms of compared to his salary. So I still don't think I'd be going too crazy jamming him in, just because of one, in your hypothetical not having the Denver news, but also if you're just jamming him in, even on DraftKings where you can roster 2 centers, it just necessarily means that I'm not getting that many lineups where I have like Şengün plus Turner or Şengün plus Carter or Carter plus Turner, or whatever it may be. So yeah. He would look good if he starts, but not like, it's not Naz Reid, it's not Brandon Clark. If they
anything else for Philadelphia?
No.
All righty. We're going to go to game number 3. Your Washington Wizards, fresh off a big win over the Dallas Mavericks last night. Kendrick Nunn, 1-0 as a Wizard. Keep him forever, man. But I assume based on that rate, they will never lose again. They are, in fact, 2-point favorites in Houston. If you want to know how bad Houston is, that is an easy way to figure it out. Q tag on Monty Morris, which is oddly important. Kristaps Porzingis still out. Lots of ownership here coming to Washington, in the teens on Kuzma, Beal, Kispert, who got the start last night, close to the teens here for Daniel Gafford. And then we got to talk about Denny Avdia, who may be one of the more interesting plays that you'll ever see. A 40% owned guy on DraftKings who is probably coming off the bench.
Yeah, so the Monte Morris news is big because you do have DeLon Wright at a pretty cheap price tag who would play a bunch of minutes most likely. Don't know who would start there, though. The last time he was out,
Kendrick Nunn?
Right. So the last time out, you got the Jordan Goodwin start. He's 3K flat, and if he starts, he's going to look really good. If Kendrick Nunn gets the start, I am more scared to go to him than I would be if Jordan Goodwin started, but he still wouldn't look bad at 3,600 because there's a decent chance they would just give him starters minutes. But then we've also seen, DeLon Wright playing a few minutes alongside Morris, even with Beal back. And if Morris is out, you are likely still getting, at least mid-20s minutes from DeLon Wright one way or another. So he would, look good at 4,100. But that is surprisingly big news. Avdi at 4K, I still really like. 40% is a lot, but he is small forward, power forward, which is just really valuable on this slate. You just don't really have options to pivot to in that price range. And then the other thing is that, we saw it yesterday, and it's why I ended up ultimately not swapping off of him when we got him coming off the bench. He's still, barring foul trouble or a really, really weird change to the rotation, needs to play 28 plus minutes. You have Rui's gone. So you have all of those bench minutes to soak up. None didn't get in the rotation yesterday. But And there's no incentive, there's no reason for the Wizards not to play him big minutes here. He's one of their best options if you're trying to win a game. He's one of the guys they need to actually figure out what they want to do with him going forward. There's no reason to like be giving minutes to guys ahead of Avdia. So even coming off the bench, I expect him to be in the closing lineup. I expect him to be playing 28 plus minutes. We got 32 yesterday, and he's around 0.85, 0.9 fantasy point per minute guy taking on the Rockets. It doesn't matter, if he's starting, you just project him for more minutes. But even coming off the bench, he projects pretty far above 6x at 4K. Just makes it tough not to get there. Kuzma was relatively disappointing yesterday, and we got his salary on DraftKings just snapped right back to where it had been. But still a really good option here. Going over owned, 19% ownership, 11% chance of being optimal, but a great spot against Houston. Bradley Beal at 7,200 is certainly interesting, pulling 13% ownership. My biggest concern on him is that he did only play 30 minutes yesterday on the front end of the back-to-back. And we know he has been banged up off and on for most of the season. So I wouldn't be shocked if you did just only get like 30 to 32 minutes from him here, which would certainly sort of, cool your interest if you knew he was going to play that. There is a chance, obviously, that he just plays more, but the ownership's already there. And there is a very, very, very obvious pivot on the other side of this game that is somehow getting less ownership. So that's something I'll pay attention to. If Bradley Beal at shooting guard 7,200 is going to be getting 3 times the ownership of Jalen Green at shooting guard 7,500, I think Jalen Green is just clearly the better play.
What about my boy Corey Kispert?
Yeah, he's 3,100. He's fine. He's pulling 19% ownership. He sucks. He's going to play 30 plus minutes most likely. He would be getting a lot of ownership if he had small forward as well. But the only negative on Kispert, other than the fact he's not a very good point per minute guy, but it's completely related to the fact he's not a very good point per minute guy, is that even if he plays 30 minutes, you're expecting him to get around like 20 DraftKings points. And if you end up getting 20 DraftKings points from one of your guards today, you probably are getting some nice min cashes and looking very, very far up at the top of the leaderboard.
Yeah, that's not going to be good. You need a couple extra shots to go in. I did look this up earlier today. I was just like, okay, well, you need Kispert to knock down some threes. The Houston Rockets give up the most threes in volume in the NBA. So if any team is just going to allow Corey Kispert to have a big day, it's probably the team that gives up 40% of opponents' shots to threes.
Yeah, that does seem likely.
Assuming we get DeLon Wright in the starting lineup, what are you expecting? Like, if Morris is out, that is, would you be just assuming like 28 to 30 on Wright?
If he starts, yeah.
Okay.
I'm not confident at all that he starts, but he could.
I don't think that this matters at all, but I just want to mention it. Nice to see that they dusted off Will Barton yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, it matters in the sense that he's 3K and he played ahead of Kendrick Nunn. I don't know if that continues to be the case going forward. It was weird to me that they went to him as opposed to, even if like Nunn maybe, just wasn't ready to play or whatever, but even ahead of Goodwin was weird. But it's something to keep an eye on. Like, he only played 16 minutes yesterday, which is going to keep me from rolling the dice on him here, but it does make me uncomfortable because he's a 3K shooting guard small forward. And if he just walks into like 22 minutes against the Rockets, you're probably going to wish you had him.
On the Houston side of this one, just a real bang up team here. Still no KPJ. We've got the Q tag on Jabari Smith once again. He missed Saturday's game and then missed Monday's game as well. So he has missed the previous 2. There's no ownership coming into these guys on FanDuel. It's basically 10% across the board for Şengün and Martin and nothing higher than that. Şengün and Martin are also in the 20s on FanDuel. I've got a bit more interest in the Houston side of this one than the ownership is currently showing. However, you mentioned Jalen Green before. By all means, take it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like Houston here. I just don't really... I mean, in a sense, I understand the ownership because there's just a lot of really good plays on this slate. But this is a really, really appealing spot. And I don't really think these prices have overcorrected for Porter being out or anything. You have Şengün pulling 10% ownership. There's some sticker shock because he's 8,700, but it's not just that Kevin Porter Jr. is out. That certainly helps. You're getting 1.3 DraftKings points per minute from Şengün without Porter on the floor, 24.5% usage rate, 22% assist percentage, 18% rebounding percentage. All of that is great and by itself would explain why he's $8,700. But even before Kevin Porter Jr. got hurt, you were seeing favorable rotations for Şengün and increased playing time. They had kicked Bruno Fernando out of the rotation other than games where there was foul trouble. Last game, you got Fernando in the rotation, but you only got 2 minutes from Usman Garuba. So the fact that they're not running this 3-center rotation anymore has made it so in the games that Şengün avoids foul trouble, you're frequently getting 34 to 37 minutes from him as opposed to like 30. Earlier in the year, it was like, oh, he got in foul trouble, he played 26. He didn't get in foul trouble, he played 30. Now it's, if he doesn't get in foul trouble, he's playing mid-30s and he's producing at a higher rate because of Porter being out. So very, very easy to like him. Jalen Green at 7,500. The downside is that he's only a 1.09 DraftKings point per minute guy without Porter on the floor because he's inefficient. But the upside is that he has a 32.9% usage rate. The guy is going to come out there and chuck up shots in a favorable environment against the Wizards at virtually no ownership and can play mid to upper 30s, especially if he's playing well. KJ Martin at 5,100 is the only guy on Houston that is pulling double-digit ownership at 11%. He's fine. He should play, 28 to 30 minutes. He's averaged 0.86 DraftKings points per minute without Porter. I think that there are some alternatives in his price range that are similar and getting less ownership, but no problem getting to him. But then you go right back to low-owned guys. You have Eric Gordon at 4,600, only pulling 3% ownership. This is one of the guys that I think is just a very natural pivot to KJ Martin if he's going to get less ownership. Overall this year, without Porter on the floor, 23.7% usage rate for Gordon. If you put Jalen Green on, it ends up being around 19 to 20%, but he should play around 30 minutes. And then whoever is starting at power forward looks good. If it's Jabari Smith at 5,200, another slightly different position, but another price range pivot to KJ Martin. He's been just shy of a fantasy point per minute guy without Kevin Porter Jr. And if he's out, you get a very close to free square in Tari Eason at 4,400, likely playing 26 to 28 minutes and averaging over 1.1 fantasy points per minute. So I love this team. All 5 guys starting today are going to look good. It's really just a matter of, is the 5th guy Smith or Eason? If it's Smith, I think you just get a low-owned team across the board. If it's Eason, he's going to be really popular, but also for very good reason.
I don't have anything else to add here. You basically covered everything. That's a hell of a breakdown on Houston. Go Şengün. Go Şengün.
Yeah.
Nothing else for this game, I guess, right? We kind of covered everything for Houston.
Yeah, I think that's it.
I have way too much Eric Gordon right now, by the way. So
that's
come on, value. All right, schedule for the rest of the day, quite simple. NBA Live Before Lock coming up after this. You'll get Greg, you'll get Eric. You won't get Eric on Twitter, however, but that'll go from 6 until 7:30. And if you want to check out basically everything that we're going to talk about on this show, projections, ownership, our boom bust tool, you can do that. You can get 5 days free of our NBA package by clicking the link in the description of this video. So like I said, projections, ownership, boom bust, that's going to give you target scores. It's going to give you our optimal odds, our leverage. You get access to our player compare tool with all of that same data. So you can do 1v1s and 2v2s while you're building your lineups. And then you could use our NBA lineup builder where we generate thousands upon thousands of lineups. We figure out which ones we think just immediately stink. We get rid of them. Then we let you guys flip through the rest of them. If you don't like it, on to the next one immediately. Don't have to worry about it. If you want to swap out some guys in that lineup, you can. Save up to 20 of them. I think it's going to be perfect for a lot of people that are playing less lineups than the full 150 max. You could export up to 20. So that is sort of why it works out perfectly for you. Go check out all of that stuff. 5 days free. Link in the description and in chat right now.
One quick aside too, because in those first couple of games, I kept mentioning Denver news. Also, the Tari Eason news is really big as far as just like we're getting a lot of news before these 8 o'clock games that we may not have at the start of the slate.
Yes, we are.
Or I should say Jabari Smith news, not Tari Eason news, but same thing.
Same thing. Well, the Denver Nuggets are currently, and I'm going to get it now just because this is the type of line that could move multiple points in different directions, although I think it's moved already. Yeah. So it's at Bucks. The Milwaukee Bucks are 10-point favorites here against Denver. Just based on that line, if you knew that was the line, you would know that most of these dudes aren't playing. I don't think that there's anything that we can really say at this point about Denver. I don't even know if you're going to know this kind of stuff on Live Before Lock, but you should certainly be watching. Jamal Murray questionable, KCP questionable, MPJ questionable, Jokic questionable, Bones Highland questionable. I mean, based on that line, the biggest driver of that line is going to be Nikola Jokic. And the fact that it's at 10 makes me think that that dude is just not going to be on the floor today, which is obviously a giant trickle down. The more likely scenario to me is that we're not getting most of these guys.
Yeah, it's what I said to you before the show. Like, I never have a good feel for spots like this. I was pretty confident that we were going to get a bunch of questionable guys from the Nuggets, so I'm not really surprised by that. I don't know what route they'll go. But the thing I said to you before the show that is making me sort of just lean towards this ends up being an absolute shit show for Denver is it's not like they're playing the Rockets in Houston and they could just say, all right, we're going to steal a win here, but we can do it without Jokic. We'll just play, we'll play Murray. You're playing the Bucks in Milwaukee. Outside of Bobby Portis, the Bucks are at full strength. If Jokic doesn't play, you're like, just rest Murray and rest KCP and let Michael Porter Jr. have another day. I mean, obviously they could, but like, there's no reason for them to be going into this saying like, all right, I think we can rest a couple guys, still sneak out a win. I think they're just more likely in this spot to be like, yeah, screw it. Everybody's getting a day off.
Yeah. I actually wouldn't be surprised if MPJ is the only one that plays since his is not injury related.
Right. And what I said to you is like, if he's back with the team, there's a good chance he just wants to go play basketball.
Yeah. So that's, and he doesn't really drive anything from like a move in the line perspective. This is hanging largely on the shoulders of Nikola Jokic. So if we go with sort of just what you and I are expecting right now, Zeke Naji at 3,800 is just going to immediately become a very, very interesting play. Bruce Brown is going to get a bump, although his price is sort of at least high enough where it's not just immediate value. What else are you going to like pinpoint here? Does this become like an Ish Smith day?
It certainly could. Like if Highland is out as well, you get a min salary. I assume you have min salary Ish Smith that
would have been really weird if it wasn't min sal.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You got a 5K Ish Smith. You get a 3K Ish Smith that if he's starting and all of those guys are out, is probably just playing like real minutes. I mean, this has the full potential to just be an April NBA version of Denver. If all of these guys sit. It is interesting that Aaron Gordon isn't questionable. I don't understand why they didn't just make all of them questionable and then just not play any of them. But it's going to make Aaron Gordon look good if those guys are out. He's only played 142 minutes without Murray and Jokic on the floor, but 23% usage rate, 11.5% assist percentage. We know that can go up, 14% rebounding percentage. So, I mean, you get Aaron Gordon just doing everything if he plays and most of these guys are out. But yeah, I mean, you really just have to know which guys specifically are in or out. KCP, not somebody that's going to really benefit no matter what, not his game. It is helpful to just kind of know who can create and who, is in KCP's case, still going to be standing at the 3-point line, waiting for somebody to give him the ball. So he's somebody where, if he's in, sure, if you want to use him as a $4,700 dart throw, then sure. But like, you're not going to look at him and say like, oh yeah, he's way better because these guys are out. But, Michael Porter Jr. should see at least somewhat of a bump in usage. Aaron Gordon should see a bump in everything. If Highland is in, he should just be the offense. Bruce Brown sees a bump in like everything if these guys are out because he, again, is capable of creating. He's capable of rebounding. So, it has the potential to be a lot of stuff to like from Denver. If they actually play all of their guys, which I guess we should at least mention, I don't really like this team all that much. Jokic, you're always going to be happy getting to, but he's an expensive center on a slate with a ton of good mid-range centers. Jamal Murray looks fine at 7,400, but if Jokic is in, it's just another pretty good guard play on a slate that has a lot of those. If Jokic were out and Murray were in, then sure, Murray looks really good at 7,400. But if everybody that's questionable is in, I really don't have much interest at all in this team. But I think it's more likely that you're going to just end up having a lot to get to here. As far as making lineups before lock, if we don't have news, I'm still just projecting them all in because that's just kind of the way that I need to do it. But certainly just like I harped on at the beginning of the show, especially in small field stuff and tiebreakers, I'm trying to keep as much flexibility for 8 p.m. news as I can.
DeAndre Jordan, like, is he just sort of in play no matter what now? If Jokic is out?
Pretty sure he DNP'd the last time Jokic was out, so
he did indeed.
Yes, still scares me a little bit.
Yeah, no, that scares me more than a little bit. So I guess they were just going to what? Aaron Gordon at the 5? I forgot Jeff Green's back.
Yeah.
Not that like Jeff Green is
for the game, so I wasn't sure what they had done. I just knew that I had like a random DeAndre Jordan lineup that I saw had 0 points.
Yeah, that was Sunday the 22nd. I totally forgot that Jeff Green is back, and they've got like other guys that can now approximate the center position at this point. Now, if he starts, obviously that's a different story, but
right.
I wouldn't expect that either.
And also, the more guys that are out, the less minutes you can be giving Jeff Green at the 5 when he needs to go play
4
point. When he needs to go play point.
Yeah, that's true too. Guys, hit that like button. 1,880 people in here, 200 likes, not nearly enough. This is the first time I've asked, though. So hit that thumbs up. Let's get it up over 300 now. That'll be helpful. We should be able to clock in at 500 by the time we get out of here. Now we go to the opposite side for Milwaukee. And
I'm good.
Yeah, Bobby Portis out for probably a week or two. No ownership coming into anybody other than Giannis at 7%. And I could make a case that I like Brook Lopez more than Giannis just in the grand scheme of things. I don't really like anything. On my crunch, I got 0 shares of all of Milwaukee. I don't even know what to say.
Yeah, there's not a lot to say. Like, Portis being out just doesn't move the needle enough on these guys, because most of the guys that are likely to pick up more minutes aren't very good point per minute guys. You know, if you want to try and get lucky on Pat Connaughton or Joe Ingles, you know, be my guest. I probably won't be there. Brook Lopez probably plays more minutes, but he's 6,100 at a loaded center position. So it's tough to say that, you know, you really like getting to Lopez, especially when you have Drew and Giannis and Middleton all active. So I don't really like anything from this team. Giannis does have a little bit better positional eligibility than Jokic and Embiid in that price range. But also I just prefer not paying all the way up.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to add here for this one. They're probably the worst spot on today's slate.
The really fun part is going to be 7:30 when we get all the Nuggets out and then we get Giannis questionable.
Yeah, which is exactly what they should do.
Yeah. I mean, it's shitty because it's in Milwaukee, but
yeah, well, that's the good way to do it because they get to see him all the time.
I mean, some of them. I'm sure there's plenty of people that like this is the Bucks game they're going to watch Giannis versus Jokic.
Yeah, it's true. But, you know, who gives a shit about those people?
Yeah.
Minnesota, 3-point dogs in New Orleans, 229
they'll be happy
total.
at the parade.
They had a parade already, so they can be happy with that one. 229 total on this one. Q tag on Rudy Gobert. No Karl Anthony Towns, no Taurean Prince, no Jordan McLaughlin. Obviously, the Gobert Q tag looms large, but if he's in, I think he might look like the best option on Minnesota at 6,800. Obviously, there are a bunch of centers that are out there. Don't have any problem getting to Anthony Edwards. If he is out, though, Naz Reid's season, once again, who they, I guess, have no problem. I don't know if he played alongside Nathan Knight, but he, Knight, and Gobert combined for much more than 48 minutes this past game.
Yeah, so whoever is starting at center is going to look very good for Minnesota. More 8 o'clock news, by the way. Gobert played 35 and a half minutes last game. So if he plays, sure, there's some risk there because, you know, the groin could act up and he doesn't play, you know, a full game. But at 6,800, I'm more than happy to be getting there and taking my chances on him. If he's out, I am certainly going right back to a $4,700 Naz Reid. They were very happy to knock that price tag back down. He's somebody that for as long as Gobert is going to be in and out of the lineup needs to just like live at 6,500. But 4,700 for him easily becomes one of the best plays on the slate if Gobert sits. So I like whoever's starting for Minnesota at center. If it's Gobert, he's a good play. If it's Reid, he is in like probably every lineup I'm playing.
What do you want to do with the rest of Minnesota? Because I find them all to be just wildly uninteresting.
Yeah, they sort of just look like guys. Kyle Anderson, 5,800. He's a reasonable small forward pivot. If you can find like $700 to get up from KJ Martin, don't read it all into his last game. He played 12 and a half minutes. He fouled out or almost fouled out. He had 5 fouls. He just couldn't stay on the floor. So you can pretty much just throw that game away. Similarly, don't read too much into those 50 fantasy point games. Like you're not going to consistently get those from him either, but you should get, 32 to 34 minutes from him. He's around a 0.9 fantasy point per minute guy. So certainly a fine option. Russell is just another solid guard play. Edwards, same kind of thing, shooting guard, small forward. But the only priority here is going to be whoever's starting at center.
Completely agree. Don't know what else to say here for Minnesota, so we're going to move it on to the New Orleans Pelicans. And they're going to look a little bit different today. Najee Marshall probable. Brandon Ingram, welcome back. His little toe was hurting him for 2 months, so he's making his way back here now. Zion's still out. Dyson Daniels out after spraining his ankle last night. No ownership at all coming in here. Can we go to anything? Brandon Ingram's 8K. That seems impossible. CJ at 8,500 seems not ideal now that Brandon Ingram is back. What do you see for the Pels?
Not a lot that I'm going to like. Ingram coming back, does just cut into CJ McCollum and Joval's rates. You also still have the issue with Joval of exactly how many minutes is he going to play in a given game. So pretty tough to get to any of that. You have Najee Marshall coming back. So that's going to cut into the expected playing time for guys like Trey Murphy and Herb Jones. Larry Nance is 4,200. We'd seen him play a bit alongside Joval recently. He didn't yesterday, but if you're going to get 22 to 24 minutes from Nance, there's a path to him doing well, but chances are, we just talked about like 100 guys that could get ruled out in the next 2 hours. So chances are by the time you get to this game starting, you are going to forget Larry Nance is on this slate.
The old 23 minutes out of Willie Hernangomez yesterday. That was one I certainly didn't see coming.
Yeah, of course.
This dude just pops up every once in a while and plays 20 minutes on the random. I'd love to know how that happens.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Because it happens on days where like dudes are in. I can never figure it out. Obviously, I don't expect him to be playing today. I don't have anything else to say here. This is not a great spot for the Pels.
No, it's just a spot where price tags have come up, and now you have one of your best, highest usage guys returning to the lineup.
Yeah, Naz Reid, still a good play, everybody. For all the people that don't want to play Naz Reid, by all means, don't do it.
Yeah, you're literally all it is if he doesn't get in foul trouble, he's one of the best plays on the slate. If he does, he's not. But he's well over a fantasy point per minute guy. When he starts and doesn't get in foul trouble, they're playing him like 17 to 19 minutes per half. There's a reason that Jerry Wick said he pulls you 22 points. He pulls you 22 points when he's in foul trouble and plays 20 minutes. When he plays 36, he goes for like 40. There's a reason that when Naz Reid starts, if you look at every single player who's good at DFS, they are going to have a ton of Naz Reid. It's not even a worthwhile like conversation point. It's just so obvious.
It really is.
Why would Rudy not play? Because he's questionable with a groin injury.
That's like that one's a really easy one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes you just need to pop up lineup study at Fantasy Cruncher and grab all the names that you see winning contests all the time and think, I wonder if they played Naz Reid in this situation where the guys on the show are saying to play Naz Reid. And then you'll see that they did. You'll be like, how'd they get there?
Right.
This information exists. Do what the good people are doing. And I don't even know. I'm not even trying to say it as myself in this scenario. All of the data is out there for all of the people that max enter contests every single day. You guys know the names that are at the top of these contests. Go check their Naz Reid exposures if Rudy Gobert is out. I got nothing else here for Minnesota and New Orleans.
Same.
I do, however, want to talk about No House Advantage. They are the presenting sponsor of this show. And if you guys want to get up to $100 on your first deposit, you can do that by clicking the link in the description of this video. Jordan, make sure you're letting everybody know what kind of overlay we've got going on here. The NBA 15K slam dunk, 5K to first is 23% filled. Decent chance you get at least reduced rake, if not overlay. Those situations are going to make you more money than anything else that you're going to find in the industry. And we can help you out there a little bit because we've got No House Advantage projections on Stokastic.com. They cost you nothing. So you can just see the percentages that we assign to these over-unders, take whatever ones you think look best, add them to the little confidence interval table that you got to make. So you're giving 10 points to your favorite and then 9, 8, 7, working your way down. Or you can do even less work than that. You can go to our No House Advantage optimal lineups page and just take the stuff that we've already generated for you to a site that is likely going to show you, at the very least, reduced rake or potentially overlay. This is the easiest way for you guys to build a bankroll. I know we say it a lot. You got to trust me on this one, folks. If you want to make some money in DFS, this is the sort of place that you should be starting if you have not signed up yet at No House Advantage. Put 100 in, get 100 for a match, use the tools at Stokastic, and I can't say that you're guaranteed to make money, but this is going to be your best shot. I'm quite confident in it. Okie doke. We keep it moving here. The Atlanta Hawks, 1.5-point favorites in OKC, 238 total. Got a Q tag on DeAndre Hunter, Q tag on Onyeka Okongwu. Important Q tags considering with Okongwu out on Monday, we got 36 minutes out of Clint Capella. There's like scattered ownership coming into anybody that matters here. It's like, 10-ish% to Murray and Young and Collins and Capella. What do you see when you look at Atlanta?
So we are still waiting. Double check. We're still waiting on the Okongwu news, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's big because if he's in, I'm expecting you're getting like 27, 28 minutes from um, Capella. But if he's out, we got mid 30s last game. He's very clearly not on a minutes restriction anymore. He's also cheap. So at 5,700, if Okongwu is in, Capella looks good. He's pulling 14% ownership. I think that makes sense. If he's out, Capella looks like a very underpriced center option. So I'm going to like him one way or the other, but certainly like him more if Okongwu is out. 9,400 for Trae Young looks good. He is pulling 15% ownership, only an 8% chance of being optimal. This is one spot where I don't think there's a huge difference between him and SGA or him and Morant or him and other guys in this price range. I'm certainly happy to just play a little bit less of the most popular ones, a little bit more of the less popular ones, but he looks good. John Collins still coming in at 5,800. Hasn't been very good this year. We know that, but still a pretty cheap price tag for him having power forward eligibility. Bogdanovich, shooting guard, small forward at 4,900. We have a Q tag on DeAndre Hunter as well. Bogdanovich started last game, wasn't particularly good, but if he were to start in place of Hunter again today, it does bump his playing time projection a little bit. If he comes off the bench, he is still a decent large field tournament option because if he plays well, he can get you 28 to 30 minutes at less ownership than KJ Martin and those guys. But I think it's just Capella, a potential priority, especially if Okongwu is out. Trae Young looking good, but again, I really just want to compare the ownership to the other point guards around him, and then using John Collins, Bogdanovich, Hunter if he's in, sort of as last guy in lineup filler. I think all is fine.
Okay. Any AJ Griffin interest if we get Hunter and Okongwu out here? He ended up getting to 31 minutes on Monday. He is a $3,300 small forward, a position that we have seen be kind of gross today.
Yeah, if they're both out, I have some interest. I wouldn't expect 30 minutes, but he did close both halves. Both were over John Collins, interestingly. But even if
and
you
Collins
get like
still got 36 minutes.
Yeah. Even if you get, 26, 28 minutes from a dirt cheap AJ Griffin, especially, let's say some of these questionable guys do end up getting ruled in, then Griffin's going to look like a pretty good value. If you get a situation where like you have Naz Reid, you have Tari Eason, so like you have Jabari Smith out, you have Gobert out, I'm not going to care as much about AJ Griffin. But if you get those guys ruled in, then AJ Griffin's going to look more valuable.
Yep. We are on the exact same page here. On the Oklahoma City side, no ownership coming into these guys. They're all basically single digits across the board. They're good, like as a team at the very least, at least good for OKC and good for what everybody thought they were going to be. That said, it's still SGA, Jalen Williams, Gideon Dort as guys that you can conceivably get to. I don't think that any of them are priorities, but $9,800 Shea, minutes are starting to creep up a hair. I got a little bit more interest than what the public is showing.
Yeah, I agree. I mentioned him a second ago when we talked about Trae Young, but you're getting, a $400 or $500 price difference. So SGA is going to be a little bit more difficult to get to and project a little bit worse point per dollar, but that doesn't justify getting half the ownership of Trae Young. So that's one guy that I would like to pivot some of that Trae Young to. And it's not a knock on Young. It's just, again, I think all these guys are very comparable. You're typically getting 35 plus minutes from SGA. He's around a 1.4 DraftKings point per minute guy. Josh Giddey's price tags come up a bit. He's at 1.17 DraftKings points per minute for the season. You can't be as confident in his playing time, but you should get 30 to 32 minutes on average. Don't mind him in tournaments. I think I would rather get the SGA. Dort is an interesting one in tournaments at 5,200, especially if, again, if you do get Gobert in, you do get Jabari Smith in. So you end up not getting those very clear top plays like Naz Reid. Dort is going to play around 30 minutes. So basically the same minutes projection as KJ Martin, a similar point per minute guy to KJ Martin, and getting half the ownership of KJ Martin would just be another option to get to.
I just wish that I could like either get fast forward and get next year's team available now. I just want to watch OKC. I'm so intrigued by these guys.
They're going to be really fun really soon.
Yeah. I love basketball's in really good hands right now. There has never been more talent in the league, and we are fixing to have like a bunch of really interesting teams moving forward as we transition from like the old guard to this new guard. I love it. I love it. I love talking about the NBA and like when we know that we're lined up to have an absolute shit ton of young talent over the next decade.
Yeah, I mean it's gonna be so weird in like 3 years doing these shows where like all the teams that play now, where you're just like, holy shit, these guys are bad, are just phenomenal.
Yeah. All right. Then let's keep it moving to the Memphis Grizzlies, 3.5-point dogs. Speaking of teams that are going to be really good right now, teams that are really good right now and will be in the future. 3.5-point dogs, 245 total here against Golden State. I mean, if you're trying to watch a basketball game tonight, you found it. This is the one that you guys should be tuning the TVs into. That's for sure. On the Memphis end, Morant is available. Brooks is available. No Steven Adams for a while right now, which is interesting to see. Danny Green returned imminent. Very, very fast return from a torn ACL. And then John Conchar is out. Kennedy Chandler available for this one. Who's starting at center tonight?
I guess Tillman. Okay. I don't know. So this is it's a tricky spot because if it's Tillman, you get it's almost like it's not apples to apples, but it's kind of like the Corey Kispert situation where if Tillman starts at center, you're projecting him to get enough minutes where he's a good point per dollar center, but you are very much running the risk of just getting like 20 to 22 raw points at center on a slate where it's very likely that multiple centers just go for 40, 50, 60 DraftKings points, and your point per dollar score doesn't get you anything except a meaningless flame emoji on DraftKings. So like that's the risk there. But also last game we saw him play 30 minutes, and that was in a game that ended up being a blowout, and it looked like he was going to close the game as well. You can't project those minutes. Like that's he got a more favorable rotation last game than Steven Adams gets. But at 3,200, that ceiling is clearly there. For Brandon Clark, if he were to start, he becomes another just absolute top option, $4,400 power forward. He's averaged 28 minutes per game in his 3 starts this year. He's a good point per minute guy. But if he's coming off the bench, he's extremely risky. He only played 12 minutes last game. He's averaged about 18 and a half minutes per game overall off the bench this year. But he becomes like a very high risk, high reward option if he's off the bench. Because if you play out a game like 1,000 times where Xavier Tillman starts and Clark backs him up, there are going to be plenty of times where for one reason or another, you get 22 minutes from Tillman, you get 26 from Clark, and you're just getting him at no ownership. So the ceiling is certainly there if he starts or if he comes off the bench, and he shouldn't have much ownership today since he burned everybody last game off the bench. But basically, if Tillman starts, I'm scared to go to Tillman or Clark, although they both have very clear abilities to be good options. If Clark starts, like, I mean, if you get like Clark, Eason, and Reed starting, those are just like the first 3 guys in my lineup.
I feel like Brandon Clark is going to start this game today because it's Golden State. And he fits the game better.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I thought he was going to start last game, so that's why I'm kind of just like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic now. I just assumed, like, I just assumed that he was going to go straight into it, like, and I never even expected Tillman to really have a chance to start there. But like, let's not forget this, like, Brandon Clark has played big minutes against Golden State in playoff games at this point. Sure. He just sort of fits the scheme a little bit better in a matchup against the Warriors. How do you want to handle the rest of Memphis? Because we've got 20% ownership coming into a $9,700 Ja Morant, which I think Ja looks great today. There's just basically every good point guard in the league is around his price and is in a different ownership tier. Bane's getting a little bit of love. Jaren Jackson's hanging out there with power forward, center eligibility, and 2% ownership, which I find fascinating for GPPs. How are you handling the rest of Memphis?
They look good here as well. I think that, it should be a very high scoring game. You have 20% ownership coming into Morant, which I get it. He looks really good. He projects a little bit ahead of the other guys we've talked about. I still think that in large field tournaments, moving some of that exposure to your lower owned guys like SGA, like James Harden, just makes a lot of sense because they all project so similarly, but clearly a very good spot for Morant. Desmond Bane is playing 32 to 34 minutes now at 7,300. He's going to look good. We already talked about the center spot. Whoever's starting looks good. If it's Clark with power forward eligibility, absolutely love that. Jaren Jackson Jr. at 7,100 and 2% ownership is a pretty interesting way to go in tournaments as well. And then Dillon Brooks, another 5% owned, $4,800 small forward option that just getting less ownership than somebody like KJ Martin when they look basically the same.
Yeah. I don't have anything else really here to add. Jackson is my GPP flyer, but then again, you and I are probably not allowed to talk about Jaren Jackson on a Joe's at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think our like 3-year moratorium's probably up, but
Yeah.
yeah, like the price tag's dropping. The ceiling is just so high because of the block upside. It's a great game environment for Jaren Jackson.
If I wish lineup studies still existed or like existed at that time and the data was out there to go see these days where you and I were playing like 80% of Jaren Jackson at 1% ownership from god awful leverage calculations. Oh man, it was so good. It was so good. It's amazing how far DFS has come in just a couple years. It's like creating electricity at this point. All right, we're going to the Golden State side of this one. No real ownership here coming into Golden State. And we've got a full squad except for Iggy, which really doesn't matter. 10% ownership-ish coming into Green, basically Clay and Wiggins. No real love coming into $7,700 Jordan Poole, who I think is an interesting GPP option. Are you getting to Golden State here? Because the total on this game says that we should be a little bit more interested.
I'm having a difficult time here just because the price tags aren't quite as appealing. Like, I love the idea of getting to an unknown Steph Curry in a game with like a 300-point total, but the problem is just like he's the most expensive of this group. And, yeah, he's pulling 3% ownership. SGA is pulling like 8, but it's just going to be difficult to get all the way up to Curry, I think. And it creates a situation where like, it's not like you just need him to beat John Morant. In that case, if you're getting this ownership discount, it would be one thing, but you really need him to beat all of Harden, Young, SGA, Morant. I'm sure I'm forgetting a couple of guys in there too, but that's sort of the problem is that he's like the most expensive of the group. If you get to him, he's still clearly a good play, but we have him with a 3.5% chance of being optimal, whereas we've had most of these guys around like 8 to 10%. So it's just a little bit more difficult to get there. Draymond at 6,300, I think looks like a pretty good price point. Should give you 32 to 34 minutes. Wiggins at 6K looks good. Don't mind Clay at 6,800. Shooting guard, small forward now on DraftKings, so that's pretty useful. But I think that they're just a little bit more difficult than some of these other teams that we've talked about, even though it is obviously an appealing game.
I'm actually getting to a bit of Clay and to Wiggins. I think it's just that MPE and that mid-tier price with like other guys in that range pulling ownership and they're not really getting anything substantial. So I don't mind the game environment. Like if you're ever going to get a game where starters play a couple extra minutes, this is the game where that's going to happen. I expect them to treat this like a pseudo playoff game. And in a competitive matchup, we're getting like 35 or 36 out of just about anybody that normally plays those big minutes. So I do like the idea of having some shares here. I like projecting them slightly higher from a minutes perspective.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable stance.
Let's see here. I don't have anything else to touch on for this game. So I think we can move it on to talk at least a little bit here about BetPro. And guys, hit that like button. I haven't asked for a while now. We're at 324. Let's get it up over 400. That should happen immediately. There's 2,400 people in here. We're going to need to get that to 500. So we're going to have a pretty big push. BetPro. This is something that you guys can check out because the man sitting across from me digitally is doing BetPro videos. So you can check out his NBA picks each and every day, Monday through Friday. You're not doing those on the weekends, correct?
Correct.
Monday through Friday. You're getting a 7-day free trial if you click the link in the description. It's going to be about $16 a week after that, $55 a month. And all of these sports betting picks are going to be based on the projection models that we have been using for DFS. So we're just moving it on over to the betting side here. So this is the same projections that are managed by Alex Baker. You guys know him as Osimo. Sean Zahn, you know him as Sean Zahn. Steve Buzzard, you know him as DeColts. They're updated through the day as information is made available and through the final tip of the last game. It's been profitable over the lifespan of BetPro. 2.2% ROI, which is pretty nice when you take everything into account. And that's for everything that ever shows up as positive. If you're more selective, you can see a much better ROI if you're looking for it. But again, check out Adam's videos. He's given recommendations Monday through Friday. We've got expected value calculations out there, win percentage calculations out there for you, providing a lot of data on the table for you using our NBA BetPro package. So click that link. You can see the graphic on the screen. Link is in the description. Whew. Well, almost there. And somehow I lost there's my run sheet tab. Somehow lost it. didn't know where I was. Utah Jazz, 3.5-point dogs in Portland, 239.5 total. For Utah, still just Kelly Olynyk out. This rotation is pretty much stabilized at this point. No one's really pulling any ownership, but they're the type of team that I don't mind having some shares of. I just don't know which one of those guys to pick other than probably not Markkanen because of his price.
I love when you make sure to include somebody's name before you kick it over to me so I know what team we're on. I think Utah looks good here, but it's just there's so many good spots to get to. I don't think there's any true priorities. I do like the idea of a 1% owned Walker Kessler. He's a just natural pivot away from the more popular Clint Capella. I think Capella looks a little bit better, but you're just getting this situation with Kessler where he was somebody that like nobody could fade. He was the obvious, just best center play, pulling 30 whatever percent ownership because he played 27 and 32 minutes in the first two games that he started with Vanderbilt coming off the bench. Then you get a game where he plays 25 minutes, a game where he gets in foul trouble, only plays 22. And suddenly nobody cares that on average, the guy's going to play 27 or 28 minutes, average over a fantasy point per minute, and is just not popular at all. So I do like him in tournaments. I think Capella is the guy that you play first in cash, and he's the guy you get to first overall in tournaments. But I think as a pivot away from him, Kessler looks really good. Clarkson at 6,600, Beasley at 4,700, both look good. You have that shooting guard, small forward eligibility for Beasley again. He played limited minutes last game, but as long as he's starting, you can typically expect 28 to 30 minutes from him. Markkanen, like really good. It's just hard to get to him at 9,100 when you have all of those guards that are better point per minute guys for 95 to 9,900. So I think it's a good tournament team, but there's not one guy here that I'm planning to prioritize.
I agree. So then we go to Portland, and they sort of just look like Utah, only in a different way. However, everybody's basically like 10% for Portland, and I'm getting to like 15 for these dudes, whether that's Lillard, Simons, Grant, Hart, Nurkic, Drew Eubanks to a degree, who I think will be mostly uninteresting by the time we get to lock. But if we don't have any value yet, I still think is fine. Still no Justice Winslow, and Ibu Baji is out. I don't know who or what that is. What do you want to do here with Portland? Do any of these individual guys stand out, or are you just like, I'll take a starter?
It's pretty much that. It's kind of similar to the Utah side. They're all projected for 10% ownership or less. They're all just easy ways where, if you were building a lineup where you have a very popular TJ McConnell, let's say you end up with like popular Denver value or popular Reed or popular Eason, whatever it might be. It's just an easy way to differentiate. You have Dame, who is a little bit more expensive than SGA and Morant, which makes him a little bit more difficult to get to, a little bit less expensive than Curry, but probably a little bit better play. We have him with about a 9% chance of being optimal compared to 4% for Steph. 7K Nurkic, not pulling much ownership and shouldn't because of how many good centers there are, but clearly has a massive ceiling, should give you around 28 minutes, assuming this game's competitive. Jeremy Grant's down to 6,200. Simons is down to 63. They both take a hit when Damian Lillard's in, but they're both playing big minutes in a good spot. Josh Hart's another 5K-ish small forward. There's not one guy here that I love getting to, but just like the Utah side, anybody starting for this team is fine in a lineup here or there. Nothing that I would
on a different slate. Eubanks could look okay, but we're going to end up being in a sea of like starting $3,400 centers, so it might not matter. Plus, potentially Naz Reid, just to twist the knife a little bit for everybody in chat. Still 2 games to go. Well, let me work that burp out first. 3.5-point dogs for Toronto in Sacramento, 238 total. If I told you that the Raptors were 3.5-point dogs in Sacramento at this time, I assume you would think that Toronto had like a real big disaster and most of their starters are out. But oddly enough, they are mostly healthy. OG Anunoby is questionable, and he's not the reason that they're 3.5-point dogs. Toronto just not very good somehow in Sacramento. Very good regular season team that is going to be someone's patsy in the first round. But sorry to any Kings fans. Let's start with Toronto. Assuming everybody's in, this should be a spot where you I kind of look at them as like a slightly worse Portland/Utah.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is kind of how it wrapped up with Lofty as well. It just turns into like rinse repeat with all of these spots because you're going to get bigger priorities earlier in the slate, whether it's TJ McConnell, Eason, Reed, whatever Denver's doing. So you're just not going to. There's no real easy way to like. There's nothing that differentiates these plays from other good plays, but you still have an $8,100 Fred VanVleet who has seen a little bit of an uptick in production recently and should play big minutes in a great spot. You have Scotty Barnes and OG Anunoby who are reasonably priced with small forward eligibility. Same goes for Gary Trent. Pascal Siakam, I think, is really interesting on FanDuel, where he's a $9,400 power forward and center. It's a great spot for him. We've seen his production down a bit recently, certainly somewhat concerning, since he was probably playing over his head a bit at the beginning of the year. But with that flexibility, it still makes him pretty appealing. On DraftKings, I think it's more difficult to get to him just because if you're paying up at center, I would rather be trying to get to like Sabonis or Embiid, Jokic if they play, or save the money and go to like Şengün. But on FanDuel, where you can play a power forward, I think he's really interesting.
I don't know what this team is doing. I really don't. Toronto, just like as a team, I'm surprised they're bad. I'm so anxious to see what they're going to do at the deadline. My current dream right now is that somehow Fred VanVleet and OG Anunoby make their way to Phoenix for a shit ton of picks. And, you know, if you got to, whatever you got to ship out to do it. And they try to save that Phoenix season because evidently the new owner should be in prior to the deadline. And at which point I think he's going to just like try to make a move for Phoenix. I don't know if that's going to be like shipping out DeAndre Ayton or something too, but I'd be looking at Toronto. If you can get Anunoby there, I think that's a really great fit because that would slot in perfectly. Totally irrelevant, but it came to me in the shower before we got to the show. So I've been waiting to talk about Toronto.
Wonderful.
Yeah, look, those are the things that are happening for me, man. I got nothing else going on in life. We go to the Sacramento side, and I guess this looks just like Toronto and Portland and Utah to a degree. It's just single-digit ownership coming across the board to all of the starters. We don't have any real news other than a Q tag on Chimezie Metu. I think of all of these teams, of Utah, Portland, Toronto, Sacramento, these single-digit teams that have starters that play big minutes, I think I like Sacramento the most. They're the guys that I'm getting to most frequently. You have a different outlook, I guess.
I like them the least.
Really? Talk to me.
So what teams did you say? Toronto, Utah, Portland?
These last four where we were just like, all the starters are totally fine. And like, you probably don't need to pay attention to anything else. They're all like 8% owned.
I like Memphis the most of the last four games.
I wasn't including Memphis, but I don't have a problem with that take.
Okay, well, I didn't think you were, but then you said the last four games, and so I thought
I meant four teams.
Okay. Okay. So just Toronto, Sacramento, the Spurs, and the Lakers?
No, the last four teams that we've talked about. Utah, Portland, Toronto. We ruined this. This is a great radio here.
Yeah, whatever. Sacramento is similar to those teams. I don't like them quite as much, but the main reason is that the guys that I think I'm most likely to get to on Sacramento aren't the ones that I actually would want to get to. You know, De'Aaron Fox is point guard only. Domantas Sabonis is center only and relatively expensive. If you get to them, great. You know, they're really, really good. It's just that the opportunity cost is so high at those positions that it makes it tough. I think I'm more likely to be getting to, a $5K Keegan Murray, $5,200 Kevin Huerter, $5,700 Harrison Barnes. And the reason is just the positions they play, and it's a spot to save money. But it's not like I'm going into the slate saying like, oh shit, good, I have 35% Keegan Murray.
Good, I have 35% Kevin Huerter.
Right. I do as a general reminder, this should be a really fun 10 p.m. slate for anybody that's around. You have four games and there's a lot of good teams to pick from. So it's kind of just been for the in context of the main slate, it's been kind of just skipping over a lot of guys and saying like, yeah, they look fine, whatever. But for the night slate, it's actually going to be a fun slate, I think.
I'm with you there. Yeah, I'm getting to more of Sacramento than any of these guys. It's mostly Fox. Well, it's everybody but Sabonis, but I also would have no issue getting to Sabonis. It's just going to look so much different for center by the time that we get to the end of it. But yeah, I'm just like all these like 5 to 10% guys. I have like 15 or so, and then a relatively big stand on Huerter, which shooting guard, small forward, 5,200 at a point right now where we don't really have the value that we think we're going to have. The guy that plays 5 of the 8 positions and is mid-tier in price tag is the guy that kind of stands out for me. So I'm not surprised by it. Huerter's the first guy whose ownership would go away for me the moment everything opens up.
Yeah, I'm with you. And like you've seen, so like Keegan Murray's been really, really popular recently, and for good reason, because he was 4,400 priced to play 27 or 28 minutes. And suddenly the Kings, took the training wheels off, and now he's just playing mid-30s seemingly every game. At 5K, he's in a situation where he's still underpriced if he's just going to be a 36-minute a night guy now. But the risk is obviously that much higher when you go from 4,400 to 5K. And now you're just getting him at a very similar price point to Herter, when realistically over the next month or whatever, sample you want to choose, you're probably going to get them both settling into like 32-minute per game rolls.
And now we close it out with the late night hammer, I guess. Spurs, Lakers. 443 likes, 2,700 people. We're here. There's 2,300 of you that haven't done this yet. Let's get it up over 500. I think 550 is in our sights. Just hit the like button if you haven't done it, folks. I think we're putting together a pretty good show for precisely $0. I don't think that we're asking for much. Don't forget, NBA Live Before Lock coming up next. You get Greg, you get Eric from 6 to 7, plus an extra half hour. Spurs are 7-point dogs in LA, 243 total. Obviously, the Spurs are still without Devin Vassell. Romeo Langford is doubtful. That's a sentence. And then Zach Collins is chalk at 3,600, which will go away almost immediately the moment that any Denver news comes out, I would imagine.
I'm still not convinced it's even real anyway, but
it's not real to me. I don't understand it.
No, like I think he should be like 10% owned or something. Maybe.
I don't even know. Like, I don't even know if that's true, but sure.
Right. Like, I don't get it. Like, he's just going to play the backup minutes behind Jakob Poeltl, and he might not even play all of those. Last game, you had Poeltl in foul trouble, and you still only got 22 minutes from Zach Collins. Like, I get the play if he's low owned and if none of the other value opens up, because you are getting a good point per minute guy that, if Poeltl's in foul trouble, conceivably could play mid to upper 20s and be really good. But there's like no reason to be going to that guy if he's getting ownership, because then you're just saying like, okay, most of the time I just am playing this really shitty play that everybody else is. And then the times that Poeltl does get in foul trouble, cool, I'm still holding hands with, even call it 10% of the field, much less 25.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't get the ownership. I won't be there. I don't get it at all. Jakob Poeltl, I do like. 6K, another guy in that Clint Capella price range that just looks really good. He's a 1.2 or 1.3 fantasy point per minute guy without Devin Vassell on the floor. On average, he's giving you around 26 minutes, but in competitive games where he avoids foul trouble, you're frequently going to see more. 20.5% usage rate, but also a 20.5% rebounding percentage and a 17.5% assist percentage without Devin Vassell on the floor this year. Just makes him look good in a good matchup against the Lakers. They are getting Davis back, which solidifies that front court defense a bit, but it's still a fast-paced team. It's still a team that overall isn't doing a whole lot defensively. So I do like Poeltl quite a bit at 6K. I think he is my favorite guy from San Antonio. Keldon Johnson at 7,200 certainly gives you a very high ceiling. He's got about a 30.5% usage rate without Devin Vassell, 1.1 DraftKings points per minute. I think he's an interesting pivot away from somebody like Kyle Kuzma, where Kuzma's $1,600 more expensive. He's getting twice the ownership. There's no doubt that Kuzma's in a fantastic spot against Houston with a very, very high ceiling, but you have a good spot for Keldon Johnson too at half the ownership, a cheaper price tag, the same, weak small forward position. So I think that's kind of an interesting spot. Again, interest in him will go down too, though, if depending on how value opens up, because if you get the situation where like Brandon Clark, Naz Reid, Tari Eason become clear top values, it's just going to change where you're how you're prioritizing your roster construction as well. You're not really gonna have any reason to be going, or you won't have as much reason to be, trying to get to like a Keldon Johnson when you can just pay 4K and then get a bunch of really good guards.
Yeah. Got up to 570 likes. Good work, folks. Might as well get it up to 600 now. We close it out with the Lakers. Rui Hachimura available for today. Anthony Davis is back. LeBron James, questionable. Lonnie Walker, questionable. Hard to really talk about the Lakers here, but if everybody is in and available, they don't look good at all.
Yeah, do you think LeBron plays?
I don't know, man. It feels like a no,
but
he's just always questionable. So how the hell do you even read into that?
Right. I can't decide which way I think this narrative goes. He was very, very, very clearly just over it last night. I know you were sleeping, but he played out of his mind. Just unbelievable game, and didn't even play the last 5 or 6 minutes of the game because the Lakers were getting their asses beat so bad. And there's just it's a great just clip. Like, he's sitting on the bench just looking completely dejected while Dennis Schroeder and Russell Westbrook are yelling across the bench at each other, but just did not want to be there any less. I don't know if he just says like, fuck it, I'm taking the second half off, or if we just get LeBron trying to carry this team until he gets hurt and is out for a month. So I don't know which way this goes.
He's so good. He's so good.
Oh, yeah.
People are so stupid.
Watching the so I wasn't watching the actual game last night. Watching the like ESPN game, whatever they call it, like the running play-by-play, was just wild. Like I needed LeBron not to score like 82 DraftKings points to hold on in a tournament, and I needed him not to score 50 in the second half. And so I just have it up on my computer, and it's just like LeBron steal, LeBron bucket, LeBron assist, LeBron steal. Like I didn't even know possessions could go this fast, and he's just doing everything. So yeah, I don't know if we just get the LeBron just gives it a real push here, and then we end up not having it at the end of the year because he hurts himself, or if he just says, Davis is back, I'm not playing today. But either way, not overly interested here because he is priced for Davis to be out, and Davis is not out. If you get LeBron out, there would be like some merit to maybe taking a shot on, a $5,600 Schroeder or Westbrook. But again, you just don't need low probability guards on this slate. There's so many good guards that already aren't getting that much ownership. One thing that I do think we need to pay attention to is, does Rui Hachimura start? Because at 4,300, if he starts, you should expect 28 minutes or so from him, and it's going to make him look good. If he comes off the bench, there's enough volatility in his playing time where you could still throw a dart at him and hope that he just plays 26 off the bench, but I wouldn't feel confident in it at all. But if you get him in the starting lineup, I do think he's a pretty solid value.
Okay. Anything else for the Lakers?
Nope.
All righty, folks, that's going to do it. Stay right here. 600 likes. Worked out perfectly. Live before lock coming up next. Greg and Eric, thank you to No House Advantage for sponsoring this show. We'll talk to you later. Peace.
Yo, it's that time of week again. Time to induct all you fine people into the Hall of Fame. Give out some free months of Stokastic Plus Platinum in the process. Some big winners this past week, so we're about to dive into it. Of course, all you got to do to get involved, get your name up here. Have us do the bragging for you. Get the free month of Stokastic and get inducted into the Hall of Fame right here on the Stokastic YouTube. Download the Stokastic profile picture, stokastic.com/avatar. Tweet your wins at Stokastic Hall of Fame, at Stokastic HOF. And get that free month. Just finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, and we got you. Just like, how about Braden V coming in hot? Took down the big one last night. Shout out to all the content you guys and time and effort into doing every day. Love the YouTube vids. $87,000 win. What a way to kick this off. I told you we had some big wins this week. Like Bobby Nissan, this dude's just been crushing through and through. Almost took down 3 GPPs last night. So close, but what a great run. Got to thank Awesemo DFS and all the great tools and staff at Stokastic. If you're not a sub, it's costing you money. And then you see Bobby again. And shout out to Bobby, too, because he's running one lineup across all of the. I mean, look at those entry fees. $102,000 there. Big thanks to Stokastic. Your DFS tools are the best. Thanks to the crew for the great content you guys put out there every day. Let's keep the print fest going. Yeah, Michael Penn certainly did. The Hammer, 333 with a $40,000 win. Best content and projections around. Can't thank you guys enough. It's a huge one. See, it doesn't stop either. One of the best NHL analysts out there. Josh, I hate the fact that I have to. You know what? I'm not even reading this one. I'll let you guys read this to yourselves. It makes me uncomfortable, but the $20,000 win is fantastic for Josh. Check that NHL content out right here on the channel. And how about Elder Breaks? Taking one down in single entry. Daniel Jones let me down, but guess I'm a Hurts fan now, as you should be. $5,300 win there in the fair catch. And then Kevin Driscoll, huge thanks and all the hard work from the Stokastic team. Took down the first solo win of the year. Keep the content coming. What is that, $2 in the $2,000 in the Thursday NBA pick and roll? Beautiful. Love to see that ROI. And D. Spearman, first solo win of the year. We got another one. First solo win of the year. I want to try out my free membership for this NFL playoff weekend. Thank you, guys. Congrats, man. Yeah, quarter jukebox into the $100. Again, massive ROI. And it doesn't matter. If you guys are in a nickel or quarter arcade, as long as you finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, you're getting up here, and you're still getting the free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum. Michael Michael Cooney, shout out to the Stokastic crew. Last month, I purchased U-Alls and another, that's a tough one, and another premium sub. Not going to throw shade. Used theirs for 3 weeks. Realized I had Stokastic. Used single game showdown tool. Bam. $834 on the play action. Congrats, man. Glad to have you here. And Scoot, how about Scoot? First time using you guys last night, and just wow, keep it up. Loving it so far. $320 on $11 in entries, and we close it out with these two. Brian Walton, 2nd and 5th in the NBA fadeaway on FanDuel. Glad they actually ran the contest. Thanks for the great content and analysis. Not much turning 31 in the 358, but I will take it. Best content analysis around. Thanks, Brian. And lastly, Andrew Hannon, thanks to all the hard work and people in front of the camera and behind the scenes at Stokastic. Never placed in the top 100 of the mini-max before. Now I have 4. This is crazy. New best for me. 3rd place, $250. Remember, at Stokastic Hall of Fame, shoot your wins to us with the screenshot. Rock the Stokastic avatar. Get up here and get your free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum.
What's going on, everybody? Time for another Stokastic NBA Live before locking. Shocking. Big Wednesday slate, which means there are a ton of players on the injury report, even more so than usual, for Eric and I to go through as you guys come in. Like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and shout out to No House Advantage for sponsoring today's show. And I'm joined here with the most dangerous man formerly on Twitter, Eric Lindquist. Okay. Eric, what is happening?
Try to get the TV to go. Come on, go.
Just pull up his Netflix and let's just look at what he's watched recently.
God, everybody watches Gilmore Girls.
It's two days in a row. Your TV's giving you some trouble there.
Just AirPlay, the thing, and the not working, and the whatever. I'm over it. We'll get it going here later. I've got lights coming for my TV too. I'm gonna look really, really cool. It's not even Christmas, but might as well just prepare 350 days ahead of time.
What's the lighting situation?
I'm getting some lights for the background to look nice, and you can rotate them different colors.
And Lofty.
But I do not want to, even though Lofty is an example. I will say,
yeah.
Josh has them too. I was gonna say they're fire. I wanted to get some.
All right, Eric, just be your own person. You don't have to be like the other people who work here.
I'm definitely not like the other people who work here.
Nah, you're a lot more dangerous. You're not on, on Twitter.com.
Heidi ho, neighbor. Would you like a nuke?
Yeah. Which, and by the way, speaking of dangerous.
It's so dumb.
This slate just filled with danger. Because you look at the injury report right now, and we have so many key players that are on the injury report. The most pertinent ones, Joel Embiid is questionable. LeBron James is questionable. Every single important piece for the Denver Nuggets is questionable. And there are a bunch of other role players, too, that could change stuff. But I kind of think we just have to focus on these ones because what are we going to do? We're going to talk about how Nesmith and Nembhard are both questionable and DeAndre Hunter and Monty Morris and Jabari Smith. There's so many guys we could talk about. And I kind of feel like we'll just handle those guys as they come about. Other than that, the ones that we really need to hit on are the Nuggets situation, the Lakers with LeBron, the Sixers with Joel Embiid. Are any of these you're really confident you know what's going to happen?
No, I don't. I muted myself there. I don't really know what to say. It feels like yesterday you said you had some leans on some spots where you thought things were going to work out one way. They worked out another. You were pretty confident Jokic played. He came out, played great. Close win for them. Now going to Milwaukee on a back-to-back. We have seen Jokic play more back-to-backs than what I expected at certain points this season, but you just saw it Portland, Minnesota, his 2 games previous to last night. Played that back-to-back, did it with relative ease. But I'm thinking if you made me decide on that one, I think he sits. I think Jamal Murray sits. It feels really, really difficult to know exactly what to do. Michael Porter Jr., I don't know what to say, because isn't it just like whether or not he's in the building, because it was a personal issue he was out with. But for the most part, I have no idea how to analyze it. I think it's just one of those slates where we only have one game, Indiana or Orlando. We'll have some news on the front end of that. We've got Brooklyn, Philly. There's just one game there. But then the slate really begins at 8 p.m. Eastern time. You'll have that Denver news. So I'm just not going to get carried away with anything from the first couple games, aside from the obvious TJ McConnell bomb.
Yeah, didn't Michael Porter Jr.'s brother killed somebody in a car accident?
Yeah, I saw that. It was really sad stuff.
Yeah, I think his brother was drunk, crashed into somebody, person ended up dying. If I'm not mistaken, that's what the story is. If not, boy, do I look like an asshole if that's not what it is that happened. But I'm fairly certain that is what is it they're investigating. Obviously, not anything that he has been charged with at this point, but at least that is what is being investigated. But the injury report for the Denver Nuggets, it's insane today. Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr., Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Bones Highland, all of them are questionable. It's really hard to know for sure. Like, my gut feeling is that Jokic and Murray both sit. That's my gut feeling. But it's hard to really project for that, because then you've got all these other pieces they don't really know what to do with. So the way I'm approaching this slate is just going to take the news as it happens. So the first game of the night, I feel like I need to get exposure to TJ McConnell. I was getting some exposure to Magic players, just ended up taking them out of my player pool. Took the Magic out and just decided, like, okay, I'm going to just forego anything other than TJ McConnell in the first game and just allow myself as much swappability to see what happens in these other spots. We talk about this a lot, and I assume you're on the same page as me, but what are you going to be doing?
Yeah, I only have 7 players in my player pool from the first 2 games of the night as it stands right now. I have a little bit of Buddy Hield alongside TJ McConnell. Nothing crazy, but TJ McConnell is very, very obvious. You should be playing him. Paulo Banchero, Wendell Carter Jr. are the 2 from the Orlando side. Going over to Brooklyn, Kyrie Irving, and I have a share or 2 of Ben Simmons, because maybe they just let him unleash, play 38 minutes or 40 minutes or something. Philly, they're going to be very, very nice to him, I'm sure, tonight. And then Joel Embiid, James Harden, we'll kind of see how that pans out. But so that's 8 total players that I have, actually. So whatever. I'm going to have a couple shares of those individuals, but I do not want to be using any spots to try to create value out of thin air when I know value could exist in spade later on. There you go.
And when I was first running lineups, the reason too, where I was like, boy, this sucks, gonna have to take him out. Like, Paulo Banchero, I think, is pretty underpriced on DraftKings, but I think that we're just going to see better players open up. And for that reason, it's like, I just didn't want to, if I just ran my projections as is, I was going to be getting to a whole ton of Paulo Banchero, and I just didn't want that to be the case. So I ended up going the other way and just removing him and hope that he doesn't totally go nuclear. By the way, Jabari Smith Jr. will play today, so that's one potential piece of value that we don't have to worry about, which is good. I don't want everybody to get ruled in. I want most of these guys to be ruled in, though. I don't want this to be a slate where 80 players get ruled out and we just constantly have value opening up, and then there's just too many guys to choose from. So anybody that's going to be, thrown in like Jabari Smith Jr. right now, I'm all for it. And then what are you going to be doing with TJ McConnell relative to his ownership? So we still have some stuff that could change from him, just from a standpoint of, if you look at the injury report for Indiana, Andrew Nembhard is questionable. Aaron Nesmith is questionable. If they're both out, McConnell just has to play a more significant role. But if both those guys play, what would you be doing with McConnell in large field tournaments relative to him being the most popular player on the slate?
Well, if both those guys are into, are we positive he still starts? Because if he doesn't start, you just don't play him. If he starts, you just play a ton of him.
I would still think he starts, because if we go back to
the Phoenix game, you got to look at that one. That was the first start. See who was there.
Yeah, so the Phoenix game, Nesmith and Nembhard both played. and and McConnell's still starting and played 39 minutes.
Yeah, so I'm probably going to play him regardless. We're gonna see him continue to just do a lot of things. I mean, the assist rate is out of control. 12 and 10 assists. Now the last two in these starts, 39 and 41 minutes. He's 6K. He's a good fantasy producer. He's been over a fantasy point per minute in all circumstances this season. He's 6K. He projects for 40. Like, I don't think it's that difficult to say that he's a fantastic play. Now, are you going to compare him to what Denver could be? Because I think that, what Denver could be is Bruce Brown Jr. at 5,200, who could project for 38. He could be Bones Highland if there's no Jamal Murray, no Jokic, who could project for 38. Michael Porter Jr. probably goes in the bucket where if you don't have Jokic, Murray, Caldwell Pope, Bones Highland, Michael Porter Jr. could have all the usage and all the land. Maybe he doesn't have like the 36-minute upside that you might want to have in something like this. I mean, he hadn't been playing those kind of minutes anyway this season, maybe for whatever reason. I mean, he's been hurt with that back for years and years now, but Michael Porter Jr. 5,600 could be the nuts for cheaper. So those are a couple plays that could end up cheaper than him. But like TJ McConnell, if you just jammed him, he's the only piece that you absolutely need from the first two games.
Yeah, that's how I feel also. So I'm going to be getting to a bunch of TJ McConnell. The other guys, I think they are good points per dollar plays as of now, but I think better players are going to open up later, and I want to reserve lineup spots for that. We've got some super chats to get to, and then we're going to touch a little bit on No House Advantage, the sponsor of today's show. But first, Ace of Spade wants to know Young or Kuzma for DK tiers.
Young.
Let's see. So he's asking. I have to sort by all the
definitely
positions. Young. Yeah, that is Young for me. And better spot for Kyle Kuzma just with players being out for the Wizards right now. Kristaps Porzingis most notably. But still, I mean, we're getting to a point where if the comparison point is Trae Young versus Kyle Kuzma, it is Trae Young there. The next super chat we have is from Burjal Patel, but there is no question here. So let me see if there is no other questions thrown in. Burjal, if you have a question for us, throw it in the YouTube chat. Doesn't have to be a super chat. Just throw the question and I'm going to be searching your name to see if anything else comes across. If you're just leaving us a super chat and there's no other question, thank you for the support and we do appreciate you. Oh, is it?
Oh, that's so sick.
I didn't even put two and two together. So actually, that's a good time. Throw his tweet up on the screen, Jordan. I think it's a good time. Very good job by Jordan as a producer. I didn't put two and two together. Jordan, incredibly smart relative to the idiots who are on the show talking right now. That's why we keep Jordan with his red headphones and sleeves now. Behind the scenes there. Yeah. So Burjal, by the way, massive win yesterday, won $50,000 and said that he did it with the help of what is going on in your background there?
I'm trying to get the thing to go. I thought it was going away from whatever. I was going into like the smaller, tighter shot. So I kind of tried to pull up the AirPlay again. Here it goes.
Well, anyway, Burjal yesterday, $50,000 over on FanDuel, said he did it with the help of our lineup generator. So first off, shout out to you and congrats. That's really awesome. And I just want to highlight how easy it is to use the lineup generator, which like Burjal now is familiar with. You could just go click a few buttons over at Stokastic.com and it is going to build lineups that we are projecting to be plus EV based on all of our algorithms. So it's just the slate gets simulated a bunch of times. We got a bunch of built out lineups, and then it's just lineups that we are expecting to be finishing at the top of GPPs. We're giving them out to people. They're not going to be duped by other people using the lineup generator. If you guys are in a pinch and you don't have a whole lot of time to make lineups, go check out our lineup generator. And by the way, this is the last day that you're going to get access to it for free. We're going to have a separate package where you could use it and just sign up for a fairly cheap price to use the lineup generator. But for right now, it's going to be included in our free trial, 5 days. If you guys haven't checked it out yet, click on the link below. There's going to be a link thrown into the YouTube chat. 5 days for free. And that includes the lineup generator tool, in addition, player projections, ownership projections, and everything else we have over at Stokastic.com. And once again, congrats to Burjal. That's really cool. And still, if you have any DFS questions for tonight, throw those into YouTube chat. I'll answer those as well.
Yeah, if I could have retweeted you on Twitter today, I would have.
Why didn't you?
Why? You got to stop.
I can't wait for tomorrow. We have a whole meeting planned about best uses for social media and how we could best promote our content. And Eric's just going to be sitting there on the meeting like, hey, how do I get on Twitter?
I mean, I still can't believe that saying that I hope TJ McConnell nukes a slate to what?
I didn't want you to say it again. Do you not learn your lesson?
I thought news broke. Free Eric. That's right. Everybody go to Twitter, go to @support, and then tag @Eric Lindquist. Can we try to get the movement going?
Yeah, I commented.
This feels a little Trumpish. I don't like that, but
I commented on it last night.
Thanks.
You wouldn't know it because you don't have Twitter, but I could read off my tweet because I
Phillip Rivers gif.
It's about time I tweeted about this. A week ago, @Eric Lindquist was banned from Twitter and nobody really knows why. So I'm reaching out to Elon Musk to tell him that he made the right decision. I just want to say that I decided to speak out on the issue. Doing your best Phillip Rivers face. Some more super chats to get to. Ace of Spade, Barnes or Bane for DK tiers.
Oh.
See, Barnes or Bane. You could give your answer as Bane.
Bane for sure.
Yeah,
it's not remotely close.
Kind of a Star Wars reference, but I always thought it was funny that Cad Bane from Clone Wars actually also sounds like he also sounds exactly like Bane from the Batman movies.
Mandalorian, we're so close. 2 months? Less than 2 months? It's pretty close. I think it's March.
Yeah, I forget when it comes out.
Can't wait. It's the best.
Zhao Lin verse FanDuel GPP. Best value shooting guard at low ownership, sub 5K. Thanks. Right. So sub 5K has to be under $5,000. Also can't be popular. So let me look through the players I have projected. Sub 5K. The one I have best that I think would fit your mold there is Seth Curry, right around 10% ownership. Not necessarily my favorite play on the slate, but he's only 10% owned. And I think you make a case that he's a little bit under-owned relative to that salary. The other thing, too, fairly tough matchup for them against the Sixers if Joel Embiid was to play. I talk about this all the time. How do you create more variance in a game where you're an underdog? You shoot more three-pointers. That's where Seth Curry would come into play. And also, he has played bigger minutes and has been better for the Nets as of late. 31-plus minutes in 3 of the last 4 games. So Seth Curry will be my answer there. Do you have anybody else that you would add to that, Eric?
Nope. Sounds great.
Okay. The next super chat. I hate when the YouTube chat does this, when it loads a bunch of messages at once.
Oh, I'm so sorry. It's such a difficult day for you, Greg.
Well, the problem is because then all the super chats I had lined up go away.
I'm reading Don't Kill Myself, folks.
By the way, do you remember the last thing you tweeted?
Yeah. Yeah, I can say it verbatim what it was. I'll say it to verbatim. It was at Jesse. I did call him a vile human.
Your last existing tweet.
Oh, it's got to be something about how I was going to off myself because the Vikings lost, I bet.
I think it was more related to the Timberwolves, but it was, I truly have nothing to live for this weekend. Being a Minnesota sports fan is just so much fun. And then you disappeared. So anybody just reads that and they would read the context and be like, like RIP Eric, because that's the last tweet you have existing.
Too bad it didn't have ... at the end of it. That would have been incredible.
Too bad it wasn't real. The next,
I tell you what, the ... in texting needs to go away because people don't understand the context of what it means at this point. Like people just randomly do it. Like my father-in-law will just text me. He's just like, see you soon, ... I'm like, don't do that. That sends the wrong message, sir.
Too much anticipation.
I'm like, oh no. Are you coming over to bring us dinner or are you coming over with a machete? I can't tell. There's no common ground there with the ...
Heard about the yoga trainer and now the ... text.
Oh, buddy. Conversation for a different show.
The next super chat is from RaceFan22. Thoughts on Tillman while Warriors go small? I love Brandon Clark as a pivot today.
I do too.
As far as Xavier Tillman goes, I know he played big minutes last game and Clark was kind of out of the rotation. I think this is a better matchup for Clark than it is for Tillman. Yeah. Clark is projected for 2% ownership. Tillman projected for 26 over on DraftKings. On FanDuel, we've got Tillman projected for 25% ownership. And Clark projected for...
It was just literally foul trouble for Brandon Clark in that second quarter. And it gave Xavier Tillman a little extra leash. So if you just go back to that box score, it got out of hand. It got really, really out of hand. And then the game was a blowout. And so why would you close with Brandon Clark, who's the better center? They were down by, infinity, because Sacramento went on a 16-0 run. They started the game off with Keegan Murray and Harrison Barnes making everything, going 12 for 13 from three. Brandon Clark comes out, gets 2 fouls in his 2 minutes in the first quarter, then gets a third foul. When was that? Yeah, at the 8:58 mark, gets pulled out of the game with 3 fouls, and then comes back in later and they get blown out. So you guys can look at this all you want. Xavier Tillman was out there by necessity more than not. I just have to believe that.
Yeah, and I just look at what the ownership is right now, and I think it's going to be game to game whether Tillman or Clark plays more. And for today, like I said, I think this is a better matchup for Brandon Clark than it is for Xavier Tillman. With that in mind, I think that's the best pivot play on the entire slate. Everybody's playing Tillman. Nobody's playing Clark. I'm going to be heavier on Clark today.
I'm really heavy on Clark. He's 1.5% owned. I have north of 10%. Xavier Tillman's at 29%. I have south of 10%. So definitely on the extreme ends of it. I think there's a good chance with Draymond Green starting at center that you get a Brandon Clark starting. You heard it here first. It's probably not something that I'm like 50% confident in, but I'm like 40% confident that Brandon Clark just fits the matchup profile better. Somebody brought up the Minnesota series. I still have flashbacks to Brandon Clark just torching the Minnesota Timberwolves. Steven Adams was just phased out of that entire series. So Brandon Clark can play some basketball. Xavier Tillman cannot.
Yeah, so I mean, that's also something that is just the big ownership. The ownership is going to change if Clark is actually starting. My preference is that Tillman starts, and I can just play Clark at pretty low ownership. More super chats that we have.
But it's a $1,200 difference. You're going to get him lower owned by default.
Not if we were to find out that Clark is starting like now or something. I don't think Tillman would be more popular if Clark is starting.
It depends. I think the timing of the news matters. Like Denver, if everybody ends up ruled out of there, nobody's going to go there. And Tillman's $1,200 more. The next chalkiest player is Zach Collins. Like, what are we doing? What? Zach Collins. Just vomit-inducing. 3,600 Zach Collins is chalk. What are we doing here?
Is he that popular?
Yeah.
Let's see.
I have 0,
yeah,
so that's cool.
That's
going to go well.
I don't think he's going to be that popular, though.
I have 0% of him, so I hope he's that popular, actually.
Yeah, I would be surprised if he ends up being that popular.
Zach Collins is the fade. I'm so scared. What am I going to do with myself?
Next super chat, Ace of Spade, Van Vliet or DeJounte Murray for DK tiers?
I just talked Zach Collins into a 40 burger. You know that, right?
I don't think you have any such powers.
Okay, cool. Good talk. I don't have any voice anymore. Who? What?
Fred Van Vliet or DeJounte Murray?
Neither.
It's for tiers, though. I prefer Van Vliet.
I pick one. I go FVV. Yeah, that's fine.
Van Vliet for me.
Yeah, you know me. Down with FVV.
Exactly. Enzo Boza. Eric, I actually don't know that about you. Eric, if you were ever in South Florida, come pop some bottles with me. Great. Keep up the great work, guys, especially Eric, officially a fan.
Popping bottles. Find me in the club. I don't know. I got
You didn't really sell that as much as you normally do.
I ain't into having sex. I'm into making lumps. I can't do it. I saw him shift the camera to me in a oneer, and I had to stop because it was embarrassing. I was embarrassing myself.
Yeah, if for your own, because I know you like to watch. This is why I'm also, because amongst everybody on our shows, you are probably the most embarrassing. So that's why I really find it especially strange you watch back your own videos like you were the other day. Exactly. Next super chat from Ben Anthony. Any exposure to Rui today? Eric, you look great.
Thanks. No.
And by the way, at the end, Eric, you look great. ...
So yeah, the story continues. Does he look great? Am I just saying he looks great? Does he? Am I interested? But I'm not really interested. But then I'm kind of interested, and I'm just wondering: are we going to get hopped up to maybe some bad decisions? Maybe play a game just called just the tip, just to see how it feels.
I don't have any exposure to Rui.
I have 0.
And are we caught up? There was by the way, thank you guys for all the super chats. I'm just making sure that I hit on all of them. We got a whole bunch that came in. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that we hit on all of these. So let's talk about no house advantage. Jordan, could you give me a report here? How close to full is that no house advantage contest? We know there's always a lot of overlay there. Let's get the live update. Jordan's the he's like the helicopter. He's in the helicopter bringing us the news.
It's currently 28% full, 5K to first.
28% full over at No House Advantage, $5,000 to first place. You're not going to find contests that are only 28% full anywhere else. So if you guys want to take advantage of all the overlay at No House Advantage, all you have to do is sign up is click on the link we have below. And now at the start of the new year, No House Advantage, $100 bonus on your first deposit. And you can get access to all of this overlay. They've also got props that you can play against the house that Eric and I are going to talk about later. Take advantage of it. Sign up over at No House Advantage. Free money. You're missing out on free money if you don't sign up right now. Contest only 28% full. Let's see if any other news has come in. We just got Andrew Wiggins downgraded to questionable. Oh, and most importantly, Jokic ruled out. So we're about to get all of that.
Well, that seems fun. The Duke of Toluca Lake. Oh shit! Hang on. I took the thing because
this is probably all on screen too because Jordan abruptly went up to take a shit or something. I don't know where Jordan.
Okay.
Oh, he's back.
He's back, and so is No House Advantage. There we are. That was good. That was important. Seems important.
Yeah, as is Wiggins being downgraded to questionable. So a lot of stuff just happened. By the way, as for other news, Aaron Nesmith is probable. Andrew Nembhard has been ruled out. We liked TJ McConnell before. Don't really have to add too much more to that. He looks even better with Nembhard being out. Play TJ McConnell. But let's talk about Nikola Jokic being out. Jamal Murray also out. Can we just get all of it at once? Is this going to be every 2 minutes we get another piece of Nuggets news? Can we just get all of it? KCP ruled out. We're going to get all these players ruled out, it looks like. Michael Porter Jr. out. KCP out. Jamal Murray out. Nikola Jokic out. All right. What do we make of this, Eric? What's your initial reaction?
Play Nuggets. How about that? We're gonna play a lot of Nuggets, and there is no way around it. If you play this slate out 100 times, it is impossible to imagine a scenario where you don't get at minimum 2 Nuggets optimal. So here we go. Welcome to your 10-game slate where we're focused on one team.
Bones Highland is going to be a game time decision.
So God.
He's dealing with an actual injury, which is so these other players are resting.
Yeah.
Highland's actually banged up right now. It looks like they want to play him, and they're just going to see how he feels pregame. He's a very high priority Nugget if he ends up playing. Aaron Gordon,
he would be the highest priority Nugget behind Bruce Brown and Aaron Gordon.
So the 3 that I think that I could feel most confident I'm going to end up playing. Well, Bones Highland actually maybe not. Depends if he's in or out. Bruce Brown, Aaron Gordon playing a bunch of. Bones Highland probably playing a bunch of if he assuming that he plays, which I think is going to end up being the case. On the same page so far.
Yes.
Who are the other players that we're going to be liking from Denver?
Christian Braun. You're going to play Christian Braun. You're going to play I mean, it's going to be, if there's no starting point guard, you're going to get Ish Smith possibly starting, which would be insanity. They've still started Bruce Brown Jr. in some of these spots, but I want to at least throw it out there that it's in play. It's a thing that could happen where you get that starting from the Clouds. They are a frustrating basketball team because you just go through everything and they can have enough bodies where they just kind of play everybody for 22 minutes or something, 24 minutes, being Braun, Jeff Green, Conchar, Davon Reed, Ish Smith. And then it becomes just picking straws and trying to hit on the right guy. But without a doubt, Aaron Gordon, Bruce Brown Jr., and Bones Highland, if he plays, those 3 are just like on another planet.
And I don't have a great feel for what the starting lineup is going to be either.
Me either.
It's like if Highland is in, then I think we could assume him, Gordon, Bruce Brown. That's going to be 60% of the starting lineup. The other two, I have no clue.
Yeah, it could be Christian Brown. It could be
Jeff Green.
I mean, this is that same type scenario where it's just like best of luck to everybody. I mean, there are more pieces out for this one than we've seen from any previous iteration. It's ironic they're playing Milwaukee at like full strength, like no Bobby Portis, but they're playing on the other side at absolute juggernauts. They're going to get blasted. They're already double-digit dogs. You could have just read in the tea leaves that they were probably going to rest everybody. It was just like an obvious spot where they won a close game yesterday. Probably weren't going to get up for a game that they were going to still be 6-7 point dogs in. Just rest everybody coming off of that. Michael Porter Jr. obviously was the guy that it's like, well, if he's at the building, why wouldn't he play? But probably not with the team at the moment. Yeah, we're going to have an absolute awful time trying to figure out what to do there.
Yeah, and by the way, just to reiterate the news that we just got, because I see some people confused about stuff in the chat. At least from what I've seen, Jokic, Murray, Porter Jr., KCP are all out, and Bones Highland is a game time decision. Right? Is that what you saw? Correct. As well?
Yeah, on the Twitter account that I am forced to log into right now. Yes, that is where I saw it.
What are you doing? How do you get your news now?
News God. I have the Discord set up. NBA.
But beyond that, because like I like to get news from Twitter as well. You don't know.
Oh man, we got Chris Duarte starting. Come on.
You didn't start like a burner account or anything just to get news?
No. Well, no, I started the Duke one. I have the Duke of Toluca Lake. I started my dog's Twitter account just to have it there, and he just follows other dog related things.
You have to get all your NBA news from Duke now.
I do. That's literally what it is. The Duke of Toluca. That is the at Twitter. If you guys want to go follow that, we can start building a brand for my dog in the meantime.
I mean, your dog does deserve to have more followers than you.
I 100% completely agree with that. Nobody's going to argue that. Who would possibly argue that?
Not me. I'm just looking to see. Yeah, I haven't seen anything from News God in there about whether, because some people are saying that Bones Highland is in. I have not seen that as the case.
I haven't seen it either. He's a game time decision.
Let's answer some of the questions that
I do think we have to talk about Chris Duarte starting, because that's now another piece that is 3,400 that's now starting for the Pacers. He played 26 minutes in that start yesterday. Just if they're going to keep doing that, I assumed that we were going to get the news about who else was going to be starting in that game. McConnell, Duarte, Hield, Nesmith, and Turner. I don't think we got the official news on Aaron Nesmith is available to play, and Nembhard was ruled out. Okay, that's the stuff I was catching up on.
Yeah, I think Nesmith is starting, Duarte starting, and then McConnell's clearly the priority there. So here's the issue I have with Duarte. Number one, he just generally sucks. I don't want to burn a roster spot on him in the first game of the slate.
I'm going to get like 4% of him or something, I'm sure. I'm going to get a little bit of him, maybe a little bit of Nesmith. I feel better about Nesmith than I do Duarte, but like Duarte's really cheap, man. 3,400 shooting guard, small forward. We were kind of dying for something with multi-positional eligibility that was cheap. We got a lot of it, but Denver, all of the cheap pieces. I repeat this. I feel really good about Bruce Brown Jr. He's going to be one of, if not my highest owned player in my next run, him and TJ McConnell in some kind of capacity. Outside of that, Aaron Gordon, 6,900. He's a good play. He's a really, really good play. I don't think he's like windmill dunk kind of situation for it, because it's Aaron Gordon. And everybody else that's 3K, they could really spread this out. Davon Reed, you could get Ish Smith out there for 10, 12 minutes if you really wanted to back up Bruce Brown Jr. with that. Jeff Green, Zeke Naji is probably going to be your starting center. Once again, he played 26, 28 minutes. I think he's just fine there at 3,800, but do you want to play a center, use a center spot on Zeke Naji at this point? Conchar, he's a guy that Denver likes. I've talked about him, but hasn't gotten as much run as I was hoping in some of these spots. Maybe you just shuffle through a couple of these guys, but if they're not starting, I don't really know how to project them.
Yeah. And Yeah, I mean, when do you think we're going to get the starting lineup?
An hour, 45 minutes, maybe.
So you guys should stick around for the post-lock show.
Look at that.
That was the purpose.
I saw what you did there. It was beautiful.
Yeah. By the way, this is going incredibly fast. We only have 20 minutes left in the show. If you guys haven't done it yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. But also, I know the Slate locks in 20 minutes. There's only one game at 7. Eric and I are going to be sticking around. 7:30. We're waiting for the news on Joel Embiid. Waiting for the Denver Nuggets starting lineup. We've got LeBron James questionable later. Do you have a lean on whether LeBron is going to play or not?
No. Again, that's the disturbing part about this slate is I have no lean on anything. You get Anthony Davis back. He's going to play very, very limited minutes. Like, you don't probably need LeBron James to be competitive against San Antonio. San Antonio does that for you, but it would sure be nice. And, he's chasing Kareem. I guess the smart way to go about projecting it out is if you just put 35 minutes a game, 35 points for LeBron for the next however many games. What game does he arrive at where he would possibly pass Kareem? Would it be a home stint?
I have no clue.
I think it's something that's at least, I doubt it matters that much, but I'm kind of curious because it might give us some kind of a clue on if it's going to be a long road trip for them coming up. All right, here you go. So San Antonio, they go on a 5-game road trip. Boston, Brooklyn, New York, Indiana, New Orleans. Then they're Oklahoma City and Milwaukee at home. So if we go 35, 70, 105, 140, 175, it's really hard to match up, but they get Golden State on February 23rd. I bet, oh man, they have a New Orleans and Golden State 2-game set there sandwiched between 5 road games. I bet they would be inclined to play him against San Antonio today if he wants to try to break that record at home.
I don't think this is about a want or not. I think we're just at a point where LeBron's been questionable in the injury report for a really long time. And we got word last night, as soon as the game ended, they said that they weren't sure if he's going to play or not tomorrow. Usually an indication to me that players sit in those scenarios. So I tend to think he's more likely to sit than play because of that.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But it's also San Antonio, a game that they could win without him. Whereas a lot of games, like almost all of the other ones, the Lakers, even at home, probably need LeBron James to be a favorite.
So it seems like we're on the same page. If you had to guess, he sits?
If I had to guess, he would sit, but I was just kind of doing some due diligence, trying to think if they want him to beat the record, if they really, really want him to break the record at home, with Kareem there, it really makes sense to try to set that up if you're the Lakers, but you obviously need the Lakers to win basketball games. I think that's kind of the priority for them. They're 22-26. The West is down. There's still ways that they could get Anthony Davis back into the fold quickly and ascend up the rankings. Because, Anthony Davis looked awesome at the beginning of the season. If he comes back and looks awesome, that's a team that could play themselves into position to at least be outside of the play-in game, possibly get into a playoff spot. But, it's just something to think about.
Some more super chats and questions in our Discord to answer as well. This from Stephen Eckelman. Are we scared about the blowout risk in Denver and Bruce Brown, Aaron Gordon potentially getting benched?
Shark Killashi. Eric, I don't have a lean on anything. Would you prefer I said something that was just factually incorrect and I'm not supposed to just say I'm not sure? You should be excited the fact that I'm willing to say that I don't know. There are too many people out there on Twitter and in the universe that say, I know everything and I know all these things. I have leans. I definitely would say 40% LeBron James plays.
Eric likes leans and locks, actually.
Son of a bitch, Greg. Stop it.
It's true. You guys should watch Eric's betting video if you want to know his locks.
Enough other people do that for me. It's fine.
By the way, the super chat. Are any concerns about Aaron Gordon, Bruce Brown getting benched in a blowout scenario?
No, because they're just projecting out so well. It's impossible. If you want to build out the narrative where you get to 3 bench players in your single entry lineup, just in the event that they get all the blowout runs, sweet. I don't even know which 3 those would be.
How many guys do they even have available at this point? Let's see. So they have, I'm going to do some counting. This is advanced math that we're going to do. But also it's important because this is going to tell you guys why I believe you should be rostering a lot of Denver players. Not that I'm breaking any kind of news, but the normal rotation players this team has. It's Gordon, Highland, Highland if he plays, Bruce Brown, Zeke Naji, Vlatko Kinkar, Ish Smith, Jeff Green, Christian Braun, DeAndre Jordan, Devon Reed. I mean, it's like 10 guys. It's going to be hard to get away from anybody just because of blowout risk.
Agreed.
Any other super chats?
If they were like 9K, 10K, we could have a different conversation. But like Aaron Gordon sub 7K, every player on this team is below 6K after that. It's a team you're going to play.
People keep saying Highland is available. I haven't seen any tweets on it.
I haven't either. I haven't
Unless
seen
it
it
just
a single
came
place.
through.
Nope. I haven't seen it anywhere.
Yeah, if somebody has a tweet that says Highland is available, throw it in. I haven't seen Mike Singer. Okay. Mike Singer.
Per Malone, I don't see where that is. It's just something you want to get confirmation on. It's not that we're not looking at it. I just don't know where you guys are looking to get it. You just got retweeted.
Yeah, here we go. Mike Singer, beat reporter for the Denver Nuggets. Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr., and KCP are all out tonight. Bones Highland is available.
There you go. Play Bones Highland. He's a smash.
All right. So Bones
I'm
Highland
going to have 100% Bones Highland.
That is my bad. That tweet came in 13 minutes ago. I didn't see it. I saw people saying it. I couldn't find what the source was. Thank you guys for sending it to me.
100% Bones Highland.
So now that we have that, what are your priorities from Denver? Like if we just say the top guys we just talked about, is it Highland 1 for you?
Highland by a landslide. He's number 1. I have 100% of him. Aaron Gordon and Bruce Brown are going to be 2A, 2B. Again, I don't know what to do with everybody else. It's just, it is so difficult. One of them's going to pop. Like somebody's going to pop between Naji, who I assume is going to start, but he's going to pull more ownership as a result of it. If you made me guess the other starter, I think it's Christian Braun. I think he's the other starter, if I had to guess.
Christian Braun?
So his name is actually pronounced Brown. His last name is. Yeah, he went to Kansas. I got in the habit of like seeing the name and having to like change the way that I say it, but it's pronounced Christian Braun.
Well, he should spell it differently then.
That's the way I feel about it, but it's his name, so. Conchar, Conchar's in play too. I mean, it's just insane. It's just insane.
For me, because I'm rerunning lineups right now, Denver players I got the most exposure to: Bones Highland 1, Bruce Brown 2, Aaron Gordon 3, Vlatko Kinkar is the punt play I'm getting to the most often.
I think he makes sense. I think I'm going to get to some Brown as well.
Let's hit on some of the Discord questions that we have now, because I know a bunch of those came through. Schindler, Brandon Clark burned us the other night. Do we go back? Yes. I think it was just foul trouble the other day.
I think it literally is. I think people are out of their minds. Like, it's the exact inverse of what we saw the other day, where I thought Xavier Tillman starting was a good play. I got to a little bit. I probably should have played a little bit more, just because I'm like, oh, well, on that slate, it made sense. This slate, because Bones Highland and TJ McConnell early on and everything, I don't need as much value. I still think that's pretty good value. But Brandon Clark is just an awesome, awesome tournament play.
Yeah, that's especially, although I'm going to be interested to see what the ownership looks like on some of these guys now, because I don't think we have that quite yet. I'll refresh while we're gunning in. Lippy just asked a question. Giannis at 22% on DK seems way too low. How do you say? With all the ownership we just got on Denver, I think it is too low.
Yep.
I mean, with the all the value we just got.
Yep. I'm going to get to him. Is there anybody on the Lakers that you like if you assume LeBron James is going to be sitting? Because I am starting to talk myself into some Dennis Schroeder.
It should be, just not relative to this slate.
Yeah, this slate is pretty hard.
The other thing, too, is AD is back, but playing limited minutes. Like, that takes away a lot. Like, AD playing, like, 28 minutes with LeBron out. Like, I think it takes away a lot of the additional usage, while also not making AD viable or other Lakers guys.
Yeah. They also like have to make way for Rui. Like they traded for him. They're going to give him minutes.
I don't necessarily think today he has to play though.
I think he's going to play 24 minutes. I would be pretty shocked if he didn't play 24 minutes today against Sac. Like, this would be the perfect time to play him. You play him against a bad basketball team where, give him some leash, give him an opportunity to go. You don't need to like say, hey, we're going to play with our core guys who know all the plays and do all the things and whatever else against like a really good team.
I'm just not sure if he'll be ready to play. I kind of like how Kendrick Nunn didn't play for the Wizards yesterday.
Yeah.
I just don't know if he'll be ready yet.
Do you think Kendrick Nunn plays today?
No.
I don't either.
I mean, he could, but I don't
I'd
think
be
it's a
surprised.
guarantee.
I think if Monty Morris sits, there's a pretty good chance he sees the floor at some point.
Got some other questions coming in. Who are our favorite pay up options on the slate on DK now that Jokic isn't playing?
Yeah, Giannis makes a lot of sense. You have a lot of Denver pieces there. If they do run him out of the gym and win by 20, Giannis is probably a big reason why that happens. So gives it a little bit of like just game correlation, all of that. He's a 1.7 fantasy point producer under all circumstances. You get Drew, you have Middleton back in the fray there too. But Giannis is Giannis. I think that's a pretty secure one to get to. He played 26 minutes, put up 50. He looked just fine last time out. So I think if you see 32, 34 minutes out of him there, that's still going to be really, really nice for you on this slate. I love getting to Sabonis today, too, going up against Pascal Siakam in Toronto. This dude at home in Sacramento, just in general, they've played so damn well. And on a site like DraftKings, where you do get bonuses for triple doubles, he only had to play 30 minutes. They ran Memphis out of the absolute gym. He's been a print fest in that kind of direction. But when you run into somebody like this, who just can triple double with such frequency, who has such a great assist rate, rebound rate, everything at 10-4 at a center position, I think there's just a massive ceiling there, because if you extended that last game to 36 minutes in a competitive spot, you're running into 58-60 again. I mean, he's just been out of control. Shooters surrounding him everywhere here. They have a 121 total, which is a little bit lower than them facing Toronto, 239 total. I really like him, and I like Pascal Siakam on the other side of that one. Two centers that are just pulling no ownership whatsoever. Pretty excited to get to both of them. And I know Siakam, the rebound rates come down. Part of that is just playing more minutes alongside Precious, who played like 36, 37 the last two games. But Pascal Siakam, we're going to see that price start coming back up. It's down to 9,600. You're kind of weird to say it, but like buying low on a guy at this point who we're paying 10-4, 10-5 for pretty frequently.
Giannis, Sabonis, and Harden if Embiid sits. Those would be the three for me.
Okay. And yeah, Harden would be probably number 2 for me behind Giannis if Embiid sits.
As for some more super chats, A1 Andy, ... No other questions. A lot of suspense. Other super chats. Just scroll up. I think we've got all of these ones covered. We have some more questions in Discord. Let's try to bang out as many of these as we can. Lippy, how drunk do I have to be before I fade McConnell? It's certainly risky.
Yeah.
I can't recommend fading McConnell.
Do not fade McConnell. He's just, I mean, it's just a stupid tag. Why did his tag go down? Why did it go down? That makes no sense. He's up to 65% and I don't care. I have 94% of him.
F Love, Şengün and Bane, or Capella and Sabonis? Capella and Sabonis.
Capella and Sabonis, but I do like Şengün.
Yeah, I like Capella and Sabonis more.
Ella, A.
Ben Simmons or Keldon Johnson tonight? Neither really, but I prefer Ben Simmons.
Ben Simmons, I think, is a great tournament play for what it's worth. Ben Simmons, the range of outcomes is wide. Like, I think it's a very, very wide range of outcomes. I could see him go out there, start getting timid, shooting 0 shot attempts, going 0 for 4, getting heckled. I could also see him playing 38 minutes where Brooklyn says, we know what they did to you. We know that you're hurt. Here you go. Go have fun. And he just goes nuts. I do think Joel Embiid plays. That's probably one injury I think is more likely to end up playing basketball today, just because I think he probably wants to stick it to Ben Simmons. They obviously tumultuous relationship at this point in time, but Ben Simmons, 6,500 for him on DK with the power forward eligibility that shows up. I like that for tournaments. I know it could definitely fail miserably, though. 5%, I'm okay being over that.
GG123, Şengün and Keegan Murray, or Sabonis and Duarte. That is Sabonis and Duarte for me.
Yeah, I think Duarte. Did you end up getting to Duarte after all?
No, I took him out of my. I would have. I think he should project decently.
Okay,
but I just took him out of my player pool because I want the flexibility in lineups.
Totally get it. I'm gonna get to a little bit just because he is 3,400, and we, as much as Denver just opened up a lot of things for us, they didn't open up anything comfortable in the 3K range. Everything is still uncomfortable there.
Yeah, but also building out lineups even without Duarte, it's not like we're hurting for value in general.
It's true. I'm not disagreeing with that.
Yeah, like I got a lot of Bones Highland, a lot of Bruce Brown. By the way, let's answer some of these questions, and then any other thoughts we have on other games, we can talk about it after lock.
Yeah, we got plenty. Just make sure you get your Indiana exposure. If you want to play Banchero, I don't completely hate it. It's just all the TJ McConnell and all the land for me.
Any Miles Turner love on DK? Same thing I've said with other Pacers players. He's not a bad option. I just took these guys who are not TJ McConnell out of my player pool because I want to have the flexibility. Individually, he's decent looking as of now. I just think there's going to be potentially better plays for later. So I didn't play Miles Turner.
There are going to be better players for later.
Race Fan 22, DK 7,600 left for a utility spot. Right, 7,600. Who is that for me? I mean, the guy I've projected the best right now is Paulo Banchero, but I'm also not playing him. If it's anybody else, then it would be Scotty Barnes. Actually, just play somebody who starts in a later start time. Yeah, Scotty Barnes is fine there. Play him, and you're probably going to be swapping him to other people.
All right, let's get these TJ McConnell smashes into DraftKings.com. There we go. I ended up on 82% TJ McConnell, a little bit lower than I anticipated updating for all of the Denver news, but I feel like I should boost that up even a little bit more here before.
No other news has come in right now, but a bunch of questions to answer in Discord. Getting a bunch of Xavier Tillman in highly projected lineups. Is he worth a shot in DK single entry? I think that Tillman is certainly a guy that you could get to. In large field tournaments, so I do prefer Brandon Clark.
I have a ton of Brandon Clark, by the way.
If you guys have lineups with Tillman, it's not an issue. I just prefer Brandon Clark.
I prefer strongly Brandon Clark at current ownership because that's kind of the name of the game. And I'm with you. I think it was literally foul trouble, and I think people are really overreacting.
Any concerns that Giannis is on a minutes restriction? This is a question from Sniffs1234.
No, because he's such a good fantasy point per minute player. He's 1.7. If you were worried about somebody on planet Earth that you were spending
real quick, super chat. Neesmith or Duarte? Duarte of those.
Duarte.
You can't.
But so you know that I go on my tangents. That's what it was. You knew you needed to cut.
Well, also it's because I know there's also the YouTube delay. So by the time I answered the super chat, it was going to be 30 seconds.
Yeah, I got 24% of Giannis. So there you go. Not anybody that I'm going out of my way to jam at the moment. We'll see. Things are going to change. We're going to see the starting lineup before that Denver-Milwaukee game. But I think it was blowout, mostly going up against Detroit. They ran them out of the gym like they should with everybody healthy. And then you just saw 26 minutes because they didn't need to play him anymore. I think he probably could have played 32. I think you could play up to 35, 36 minutes if needed today, but I doubt that's going to be needed more than likely.
Yeah, and we've got some questions about who our most rostered players are for tonight. It's a tough one to answer because I think it's going to change. Like I tell you right now, TJ McConnell for me for sure, Bones Highland, Giannis, Bruce Brown, Domantas Sabonis. Some of the other pieces are definitely viable to change. I want to know, because you and I were texting about this last night. What are you going to do with Denny Avdia? Because I know at least as of yesterday, you were not I thought you and I were just wrong on him yesterday. In hindsight, I think he was getting his minutes no matter what. But at least yesterday, we were kind of disagreeing on it. But what'd you do with Denny tonight?
No, I think it's a good conversation point now that we're after lock and we're done with the TJ McConnell. Just play him. Everybody else is kind of just a luxury piece. If you want to play him, sweet. If you don't, sweet too. But I kind of second guessed myself because I initially, when you texted me, I was just like, I feel as though, we're probably definitely on the wrong side of that, overreacted a little bit, because I don't even know if I necessarily made a firm stand on whether he was starting or not. It probably didn't matter that he was going to play 26 minutes, but I do want to point out Daniel Gafford, 2 personal fouls, comes out of the game immediately after at the 6:30 mark. You have Denny check in, but Anthony Gill, I think, was still going to be backing him up there. I think maybe they just pulled the trigger on it a little bit quicker. The other guy who came out of the game, Kyle Kuzma, came out, and then he didn't really have a good first half, turned it on there at the second half to kind of save the people a little bit. But Denny didn't play on the floor with Kyle Kuzma. And I think that was kind of the big differentiation piece. You had Bradley Beal that he played like all of like a minute and a half, 2 minutes with. And then Denny was basically starting the offense. Will Barton and Denny kind of doing some stuff offensively that made some sense. And you had just a ridiculous amount of rebounding opportunity because Anthony Gill, not the type of big that you really want to have out there in games that matter. Kyle Kuzma checks back in at the 4:09 mark, and Denny stays out. Played very, very well, no doubt about it. But I think if Gafford stayed out of foul trouble, they quick hooked him there at that 6:30 mark. I just want to say, I think he could have played a couple more minutes. And if you trim a couple minutes off of Denny, he goes from a guy who projects out really well at 27 to a guy at 24 who's just another dude on a slate.
And by the way, also with the minutes from yesterday, you mentioned that we saw Anthony Gill minutes. Like, to me, I don't think Denny's minutes really benefited from the Daniel Gafford foul trouble. I think it was guys like Taj Gibson, Anthony Gill. They don't have to play as much as they did. We got 6 minutes out of Taj Gibson.
Yep.
19 out of Gill. That's where the minutes come from. I think Denny's going to play somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 minutes, kind of no matter what. And then also, we've got Monty Morris questionable. That's something that really could help Denny as well.
Yeah, I'm underweight to him, but I have him today. Whereas yesterday we really quick hooked. And that was obviously the major. I mean, that was the difference between me having a profitable night and losing, 40% of entry fees like I did. So like Denny is still a guy that I'm going to get to on this slate, but I'm not going to get 45% of him.
Yeah. By the way,
26% in my first run, by the way.
All right. I think this guy's done this before. There's no need to come into YouTube and just throw out BS. Brandon Clark is not out. How do we?
I've been on enough rants of late. People are just annoying me, so I'm going to refrain. If you want to go on a rant, go ahead.
No, I don't need. I'm just removing him from chat.
Yeah.
There we go. He's gone. Right. Brandon
Clark
Clark
is Liker. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Go Liker on somebody else.
He's gone. He could like nothing now. All you guys who are sticking around, you could like the video. You could subscribe to the YouTube channel. As for everybody else, though, no need for the fake news. No need to come out and just spread nonsense. We got a super chat here from James McGruder, who wants to know who is the best option for $4,300 or under for a DK single entry lineup.
So ironic because my brain just goes immediately. Brandon Clark's still 4,300, right?
44 if I'm
oh shit, yeah, no, he's 4,400 now. Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's Denny for me, by the way.
Yeah, it's probably going to be Denny. I was going to say that's the other part of it where if it's not the guy that we just talked about, who we haven't projected for 30 minutes. Again, I think that's the most likely outcome. I'm just saying that there were a lot of uncertain pieces of it. Now, if you get Delon Wright ruled out, we're going to have more Washington value. I think that's going to go the underlooked. What in the world? That was the underlooked portion of it here. Like Denver, we do get Bones. He's going to be awesome. We get Bruce Brown, shooting guard, small forward. That's awesome. But Washington, you could get a Jordan Goodwin start. You could get, you could get somebody really random showing up in the starting lineup there. Delon Wright, of course, 4,100 would make a lot of sense. He's already showing up. I have 6% of him as is. If he got the start, you would really, really like that too. Lots of ways that starting lineup could look like if Monty Morris sits. So, that's another piece of major news showing up.
We got a couple more super chats, and actually, let me give him an alt because Denny's really popular. There's a good chance he already has Denny in his lineup. So if not Denny, or if let's say he already has Denny, Bones Highland. Actually, Bones Highland over Denny.
Yeah, by a mile. I didn't realize. I thought Bones is 4,300.
But also, once again, I think the Bones Highland's projected for a gazillion% ownership. So I assume you already have Bones Highland. Good chance you already have Denny. So Bones, if you already have him, then Denny. So if he already has Bones and Denny, then where are we looking for him to go?
He already has Bones and Denny.
Just 'cause I think that's a very realistic scenario.
Oh yeah, no, it is. I'm gonna think about it.
Delon Wright if Monty Morris
is
out.
it weird? What happens with Andrew Wiggins getting ruled out? Like, does Jonathan Kuminga just play more?
Not necessarily, because remember Wiggins was out for a really long time, and it's not like Kuminga was doing a ton then, and there was also Curry out at that point.
I'm going to go Delon Wright then. I think Delon Wright, regardless of if he starts or not, I think will still play enough minutes for Washington. The key is you really do want to have Monty Morris sit there, and then everybody's going to still play Delon Wright. He's going to be a slam dunk play, but at 4,100 right now, regardless of the news, the later it comes out, the better for you. I think Delon Wright's the right answer.
And we should be getting news fairly shortly on Joel Embiid. 24 minutes till that game starts.
I think so.
You don't know. We don't know if he's in or out.
But it's Glenn Rivers, so you never.
Oh, there
know.
we go. Speak of the devil, Joel Embiid will play today.
There you go. I was going to say the chances of him not playing against Ben Simmons, I felt pretty, again, 60%. Like I thought he was going to play against Ben Simmons. If you can go after your dude, the dude who created all this drama and headache for you, you want to stick it to him in his first game back. You really do.
The next super chat, it is from the Hippo. If you have a no fake news rule, Mr. Third Leg Greg, then why did I once think Eric was in jail? Because he was. We had video and we had picture evidence of that.
Yeah, look at my Twitter, actually.
Yeah, you're literally in Twitter jail right now.
Enjoy it because I can't.
Yeah, you're in Twitter jail. The only way for Eric to access Twitter is he has to politely ask his dog if he could use his dog's Twitter account.
Jordan Klein.
Eric did jail time. He was in court, the whole deal. True or false? You were in court.
I was in court as a juror.
Case closed. Case closed. So Joel Embiid being in, what does this mean? Are you going to be getting to him?
I have 4% of him. I'm not going to change it. I think the thing that it mainly changes is that James Harden not really in play for me.
I would have played a ton of Harden and Maxey.
Oh, me too. And yeah, it would have been Maxey pad season.
Starting lineup: Harden, Melton, Harris, Tucker, and Embiid for the 76ers. So normal starting lineup there, more or less what we were expecting. And by the way, Maxey now should point out that he is coming off the bench now for the Sixers. Yeah, what's that?
You're very proud of yourself, aren't you, Jordan? You're sitting over there like, I am just so witty. I got him again. An absolute jokester you are, dick.
Eric's a dangerous man. Somebody tweeted at me yesterday and said they live in the same state as you. Anybody lives in California, just look out. Watch your back. Make sure that you're just everything. Be careful. This is a dangerous man.
Hey, man. That's what it is, baby. It ain't no hood thing, but a chicken wang.
Eric Johnson says Jordan needs a raise. What do you think about that comment, Jordan?
What do you think?
Do you think at all?
No,
it says a lot about Jordan that he wasn't sure if he agreed or not.
Yeah, you had to think about it.
I don't know.
Oh, dude, like, bro, dude, chill. Don't. I don't know.
Sometimes I just like to sleep in the morning and not show up to work.
He just came in with like a grizzled old man over there. However, I will say, behind that very rough exterior, Jordan Klein, sweet swinging Jordan Klein, I gotta say, that thing is buttery. He was just striping it last week. Are we going to play again on Friday, Jordan? Oh, bro, chill. That's fine.
One other thing I want to bring up here on the news, and then we're going to talk about no house advantage. So, Jordan, one news item here, because DeAndre Hunter was ruled out, and then we'll be looking at no house advantage and some of the props that we could play against the house there. What are you doing with DeAndre Hunter being out? Is that anything that changes for you?
Yeah, John Collins, son of a bitch. This is right back to it. I don't like this. This is going to be gross. Did we get a Kongwu news? Onyeka?
Onyeka Okongwu is in.
Okay.
Okongwu in, Hunter out.
So he's a serviceable backup. I think that takes away a little bit of me having to jam John Collins this time around, but John Collins is 5,800 people. And if you're looking for the natural pivot off of Capella here, Capella played great, but John Collins still played 36 minutes. Sure, the rebound rate's going to come down playing alongside a Clint Capella, but like, I just have to play some John Collins in my life. It's too good of a spot to pass up on. OKC interior, like, I already was playing John Collins as a tournament play. I'm nervous about what's going to happen in this next run with him. I had 14%. I'm probably going to get, I mean, what was he, 7% before? So I was literally exactly double the field. I can't imagine that I get less now.
I lied. I said that after we talked about DeAndre Hunter, we were going to talk about the NHA props. It's going to get sidetracked. One more thing. Monty Morris will not play today. Morris has been ruled out.
Big deal. We want the Washington starting lineup, but as it stands right now, I do expect Jordan Goodwin to be like, that's the guy that kind of goes and shows up and starts in these spots. He played 26 minutes against the Knicks, was serviceable there, but regardless of if he starts or not, Delon Wright, 4,100. Go ahead, drop down and get your eagle on, girl. Delon Wright season.
You know I'm playing the most from the Hawks? Bogdanovich.
I love it. He started last game.
But do you know what his price point is today?
Yeah, he's a 5K?
4,900. I think that's the value play to get to from Atlanta now. He's more expensive on FanDuel at 6,000. Even at 6,000 on FanDuel, I still think that's a playable price point. 4,900 on DK is absurd for Bogdanovich.
Yeah, good win.
That's my favorite guy from Atlanta.
Yep, I don't hate that. He did start last game. I kind of hope he doesn't start, to be honest.
Starting played 33 minutes last game. I know he didn't make a lot of his shots, didn't have a super high usage. I think that was partly because he only made a third of his shots. This is a misprice. He was $1,000 more expensive. He was $1,100 more expensive than this a week and a half ago.
That is correct. Let's just say, can Will Barton play well one time? Because he's 3K. Will Barton's 3K. I just want to point that out. Will Barton's 3K.
I mean, I think you can make a case for him, but that's not necessarily my favorite option.
He's had 2 games this season where he played 33 and 36 minutes off the bench with a lot of pieces out. And I get Bradley Beal's back, and that's probably the biggest issue. But on a back-to-back, I'm a little surprised Bradley Beal's playing in this spot because he's had a bad hamstring. You don't want to overexert the guy. He only played 30 minutes against Dallas. That would have been yesterday. So I can't imagine he plays more than 30 minutes here. We haven't projected at 31. I think he's just fine at that kind of a number. I don't want to play too much at 7,200, which is weird to say because it's Bradley Beal at 7,200. It's just a minutes thing, G. But Will Barton, 3K. 3K for Will Barton. Oh, I'm kind of tossing and turning in my sleep last night. We got 15 minutes from him yesterday. It just comes down to what happens with Kendrick Nunn. That could just snipe it, and Will Barton plays 15 minutes again here. But I think it's a good enough guy. Going back to Denver, 0.8 fantasy points per minute this season. At a flat 3K, I'm going to take some shots.
So something else to consider here as well. We were talking about before, Kendrick Nunn didn't play yesterday. What is Rui going to do for the Lakers? Does Nunn play a significant role for the Wizards now tonight?
I said I don't want Nunn unless you got buns, hun. I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know how you'd even project it. That's the disturbing thing is like we're getting value, but it's so hard to know what it is. Does that make sense? Denver and Washington, you just don't know what it is. We'll know who starts for both teams and we'll be able to do that. But like, good luck projecting the bench. That's why I'm saying Delon Wright, even if he doesn't start, I'm going to play a lot of him. If Jordan Goodwin does start, I'm going to play a lot of him. Denver, you're going to play the 2 other starters that aren't Aaron Gordon, Bruce Brown, and Bones Highland. You're just going to play those 2 guys. So like, you could also run into Bones Highland not starting, which would be pure insanity and true chaos. But I love chaos.
At least once a week, he has to do that.
I do.
And
sorry. It's in my contract.
Yeah. So also people are going to ask about Delon Wright on FanDuel. Even at the FanDuel price point, I still think Wright is worth getting to. Been saying this a bunch over last week. they've been a lot sharper, FanDuel has, than DraftKings in terms of some of this pricing. 5,200 for Delon Wright on FanDuel. If he's starting, especially in the matchup against the Rockets, I still think he's a really good option at 5,200 on FanDuel, but 5,200 compared to 4,100 on DK, would you still like him at the 5,200 price on FanDuel?
He would have to start, I think.
For 5,200 on FanDuel, yeah, I'd say he has to start. Assuming he does start, I would still like him at that salary.
I mean, we have a lot of positive leverage on him in the boom bust tool. Also, Brandon Clark jumping to the top of the page in the boom bust tool. I love this thing. I love that we're on the same page here with our friends here at the data team here at Stokastic, because that is really lovely to see. I'm about Brandon Clark. But yeah, I think you would have to start at that number on FanDuel. That's a tough one, 5,200. Just because there's enough other guards that could snipe away from that. If he starts, I feel like those minutes are pretty secure for him.
So let's talk through, because we've got the Nets Sixers game now at 7:30. And before, I was trying to avoid Pacers Magic game players, for me personally, other than TJ McConnell, because I just wanted to reserve myself from some roster shots. By the way, have you seen what the score is to start the Magic Pacers game?
I did. Magic are just rolling.
10-0. The Magic.
They hating.
10-0. Is there anybody that you feel like you need to play from the Sixers Nets game? Because I'm once again kind of wanting to leave roster spots open.
I'm with you. I think that's just fine. Let's see here. I think you just play the studs. That seems to be a trend of what's been happening a lot on these spots. Like Joel Embiid makes some sense to get to a couple shares of if you're playing 150. Kyrie Irving, Ben Simmons, I'm still going to play regardless of what happens here. But I can't imagine I get to another piece from Philadelphia or Brooklyn.
Couple more super chats to answer. This one right here, Klay Thompson and Desmond Bane, or Curry and whoever projects best at 4,600 and under for a single entry tournament on DK. So that would be for me Curry and Bones Highland.
I don't have that list of people. You said a lot of names.
It's Klay Thompson and Desmond Bane, or Curry and whoever we want at $4,600 and under.
The second one.
So I said Curry and Bones Highland.
There you go. Those are the two I want to.
If not Bones Highland, or you already have him, then Denny. If not, then Delon Wright right now.
Bones Highland is projected for 81% ownership.
Yeah.
Hello. I'm playing 100%, so that's chill.
The next super chat we have is from my filler arc, and it is Jalen Green now or wait for Klay if there is no Wiggins. I just don't want Jalen Green right now. It doesn't even have to be Klay that you play. I would say play for now and just hold the lineup spot.
I'm trying to think about what I would even do with Wiggins out. Like, I think the only person that would become potentially more viable for me would be Jordan Poole, 7,700. But like, even still, I'm not getting to him really. So it's kind of a weird thing with Andrew Wiggins. I think Steph is fine. You know what you're getting into with Steph every single slate. But yeah, I wasn't getting anything from Golden State other than that.
I mean, the other thing too is, I mean, we've seen Wiggins out more often than not over the last, month, whatever it was, where he had missed a bunch of time. It's not like he had a crazy significant impact on anybody other than those slates where the Warriors rested everybody and Curry's back now. As weird as it sounds, I just don't think it matters that much.
Yeah, it's weird to say, but I'm probably with you. There's enough guys that can rotate in, and it's not like you're getting a 3,800 DiVincenzo. Like, he's 5,700. You have Draymond Green, who's playing alongside all the other guys, probably helps him a little bit, but like 6,300 for him. He's the most popular player on the team at the moment. Kevon Looney hasn't been starting. Jonathan Kuminga, I don't know what to make of those minutes. Anthony Lamb's played really well here too. So it's a really gross spot. That's like, and by the way, the night slate tonight, there's 4 games. You have 4 games. You're playing a whole new slate. It's an awesome night to be playing late slate.
Yeah, and usually those late slates are 2 games, sometimes 3, but yeah, you're right. 4 games with actual value.
4 games with actual value and decision points where you can kind of diversify your lineups in a way that, in conjecture, in what's the word I'm looking for? In combination with your regular lineups. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I just know that like it's a whole nother slate, a whole new slate.
That made me so uncomfortable.
Point per dollar is so good.
I have actual douche chills right now. My feet are shaking. I'm not enjoying this at all. Anybody ask us questions in Discord chat? Please help me. I want to be out of this. Here we go. Last man in for a DK single entry.
Whole new slate with you.
JEW wants to know Markkanen or Kuzma. Kuzma if I had to pick one, but neither.
Kuz. Douche chills. I've never heard that.
Yeah, that made me extremely uncomfortable.
Did you really not like
it? I really did not like that.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's gonna take me a minute.
We still have 2.4K people here. Bet that's about to go down after that. Throwing it out there.
And no starting lineup yet for the Washington Wizards. And none for the Denver Nuggets yet either. Super chat from Douglas Bowman. Is Jaren Jackson Jr. a good tournament play for DraftKings? And then Curry and Thompson as a run back. I'm not playing Jaren Jackson Jr. tonight.
Oh, I have a little bit. Oh, I have a tiny bit.
A good, anything significant? Or
7%.
I assume when people ask us these questions, I generally assume they're playing one lineup, and that would just be a no for me.
See, I think they're playing. Well, yeah, that's true. They might just be playing one. I wouldn't play Jaren Jackson Jr. one lineup. I'm playing 50 lineups, and I have him in 8% right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna say no on Triple J right there. He always has upside, but there's just better options.
I know, but 7,100, and it's the stocks, and I do think Jaren Jackson Jr., we saw him play 28 minutes last game with 29% usage. There's no Steven Adams for the foreseeable future, and I'm playing a lot of Brandon Clark. Maybe Jaren Jackson Jr. just gets extra run at the 5. If you phased out Xavier Tillman and he didn't play nearly as much today, what's the result? Well, Brandon Clark and Jaren Jackson Jr. probably go nuts, so I'm going to play them.
The next super chat we have is from JR. And he wants to know for a last man in on FanDuel, Fox, Beal, CJ McCollum, Russell Westbrook, or Jalen Green. So this is his cash lineup and the last man in. I'm going to say Westbrook just in case LeBron sits. And then if he plays, you just have the ability to swap to a bunch of other guys later.
That is correct.
But let me see. Who do I have projected the best there? And what's that salary as well? So if he has Fox, Beal, Westbrook, Jalen Green for FanDuel. What is this? Yeah, the answer is Westbrook for me.
Jordan Klein. You want to do a duet one day on we'll do Jasmine and Aladdin. Oh, so good.
What do you have a favorite Disney movie that you like to sing songs to when you're
my favorite Disney movie by far is Coco. By far. There's not a close second. Coco is so fantastic. I could not love that movie anymore. Pirates of the Caribbean, probably, if you consider that. Well, it is a Disney movie.
I meant like animated. If you're
animated, Coco is the best.
There's zero doubt in my mind that when you are in the shower by yourself, you are just absolutely belting Disney songs. Like, what's your go-to?
Oh no, it's normally so I normally sing like Blink 182. Like if I'm like moving around the house or doing whatever else, I'll just randomly just be like, in the car, I just can't wait. Or, like, where are you? And I'm so sorry. I cannot sleep. I cannot dream tonight. I need somebody and always. The sick, strange darkness comes creeping on, so haunting every time. And as I stared, I counted webs from all the spiders.
Eric's personal life.
Catching things and eating their...
Boy, look at Eric go. Got a super chat here from John Bryant. He wants to know, who is the last man in under 10,700? He already has Ja Morant over on DraftKings. So under 10.7. Sabonis. For sure. Easily Sabonis. I wonder if he's still singing. Yeah, there's really no way. There's really no way to know. Jordan, let's look at No House Advantage now, because they've got their props against the house. They're sponsoring the show today. And if you guys haven't signed up in No House Advantage, use the link that we have below. You get up to $100 bonus on your first deposit. Get access to all the overlay we were talking about earlier on No House Advantage. Contest, not even full, halfway. And I think it's something that you guys should really consider getting involved in. Eric, are you done singing? Yeah, I mean, what? It's crazy what Jordan's doing.
Can I unmute myself? Oh, you let me unmute myself. What a nice individual. What a great producer. Don't waste your time on me. You're already the voice inside my head.
It is. They do say "yed" with a Y.
They do. It's very strange.
Do you have any? We're gonna go over to NBA Bet Pro, which also, if you guys haven't checked out NBA Bet Pro, we've got a link below. You can get access to it for free for 7 days. But let's look at some of these No House Advantage props, Eric. I don't know if you've had a chance to check them out. I've got the Bet Pro loading for me on the screen right now. Any particular props that are catching your eye for the NHA, the props you play against the house?
Yeah, there were a couple. A lot of them are unders today. Trey Jones, under 15.5 points. That was one that stood out to me over on NHA today. Think that's pretty fantastic. You've got a couple of others that made some sense, but pretty much welcome to the under category. It looks like I just pulled up Bet Pro myself, but the one that I had highlighted starred when I was looking at it before the show was Trey Jones.
Trey Jones, who?
Trey Jones,
who?
Back then, hoes did not want him. Now he is hot. Hoes are all on him.
Yeah, I think you can make a case for Trey Jones for sure. And yeah, for sure. You know why back then hoes didn't want him was because he was stuck behind DeJounte Murray on the depth chart. That's not the case anymore.
And now he's flossing with that candy paint. Rolling dank, sipping drank. Tearing up the lane.
I'm looking through these, trying to see if there's any that stand out to me. Harrison Barnes, after his big game the other day, his over-under for threes is 2.5.
Unreal.
That's pretty lofty for Harrison.
That is a lofty number. It's like Paulo Banchero. I slammed the over of 26.5 for him the other day. He was 30.5 today. 30.5. 4 up. And they added a rotation player in Jonathan Isaac who actually played 10 minutes, and his number went up 4. It was wild.
Banchero, who, by the way, hot start for him, but he's now in foul trouble. 8 points, a rebound, and an assist. Has 2 personal fouls. If we look at the Pacer side of the game, good bounce back from TJ McConnell. Same rotation as the other day. Don't be concerned, though, guys. So out in right around the midway point of the first quarter, McConnell 3 points, a rebound, then an assist. We saw him check out early the other day and still finished with 40 minutes. No need to be concerned.
Don't be scared, Mini-Me. Things won't get weird.
They might.
They got a little weird the last 10 minutes.
A little weird.
Some people really enjoyed it. Some people really did not. Sounds like our channel.
I like the point where it went mute. I really like that part.
Eric with silence attached. Usually a good thing.
How long did it take you to realize?
Take time to realize.
But like, seriously, how long did it take you to realize that you were just singing to the abyss?
I have no idea. Well, no, because it came up on the screen as mute. So pretty immediately.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've never been annoying enough on a show where the producers had to mute me. So I don't know. Like you would be the expert on what happens when the producer mutes you.
Oh, yeah. This is probably the second time it's happened this week. I think there was a time last week Jordan muted me. That's for sure. I know that happened.
Some more super chats. This one is from Dirty Hippie 21. Thanks, fellas. Good luck tonight. Hippopotamus. Can you guys stay on until 8 p.m. Eastern time today? If Alex says no, I'll send Hippo. So the problem is I have to eat dinner at some point.
Yeah, he's out there in the future, 3 hours ahead of me. So I get done. I usually take Duke for his walk here. I've already done, there's 6 games tomorrow. I've already broken half of them down. I got to look at the other half and get my bets together for lovely Lindy's Lindy's leans, likes, and locks over the Hot Shopper channel. Yeah, I just had a mental breakdown there for a second. No big deal. Kind of like my Twitter, just incapable of reaching me at the moment.
Muted, silence.
Muted.
John Prince, do you force late game players into your lineups? Not really, no. But if all things are equal between an early game player and a late game player, I'm going to prefer the late game player for the flexibility.
Correct. That is the right answer.
Were there any other super
right?
chats?
My God.
Here we
Also,
go.
Corey Kispert. Why? I can't do this anymore. Why am I doing this?
What do you mean?
I had like 8% Corey Kispert. I don't want 8% Corey Kispert.
Super chat from Hippopotamus. No soup for you. No soup. He is not letting us have soup.
No.
I don't have soup for dinner. My sister-in-law made chicken pot pie.
Yeah, just give me actual food. That'd be great.
Matzo ball soup's pretty good. Andrew Wiggins listed out today.
There you go.
All right, guys. We're about to get some updates on Andrew Wiggins. It actually is not going to change that much about my lineups. Eric and I kind of talked on that before. But thank you very much for sticking around and watching. That was a really quick 90 minutes. If you guys haven't done it yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Good luck. See you back here tomorrow.
Thank you, Douglas Bowman, $1.99.
Oh, did he leave another super chat?
He did.